We are rolling.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Creative Businessmen. Today we have Jason Zaremba.
Zaremba,
yeah. So Jason, it's good to have you on the show, man.
It's good to be here. This is great. I like the production value on this. Is far more than any other podcast I've been on.
Thank you. We try to stay professional.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So how long have you been doing comedy?
Including the pandemic, I've been doing comedy for about 7 years.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, did you start here in Greensboro or?
No, I started in Raleigh. It was the second Wednesday of November 2013.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was at Good Nights in Raleigh, back when they used to have their open mic. Have you ever been to Good Nights?
I haven't.
Oh, well, it's like closing down.
But I know,
too,
I'm familiar with it. Yes.
Yeah, but it was like it was their open mic.
I've heard are they gonna try and relocate it, or?
I think
Probably.
so. That's probably what they're gonna do. I doubt they're gonna let it just. It's like, all right, one of the best comedy clubs in the country. It's gone now. I don't think they're gonna let that happen.
No, probably not.
Yeah, makes sense.
How old are you now?
27.
27. Wow. So you started at 20. That's awesome.
Yeah, 19.
So when did you know you wanted to do stand up, or what inspired you to go into stand up at that young age?
I've always been a fan of stand up. So like I was watching Comedy Central and shit when I was a kid, and I always loved making people laugh. And then when I was in high school, I got really into music and started like playing in bands and shit. I was playing bass, and
cool.
I got like really obsessed with I was fixated on I need to be a musician. Like this is my life. I'm gonna be a musician. And I was still a fan of comedy, but it wasn't really what I wanted to pursue.
Right.
And then after a while, after I dropped out of college and I joined another band, and I eventually got tired of being in that band because I was. It was like we barely got any work done. And I was like, oh, so the problem is I'm relying on these 4 other alcoholics to get shit done. Why don't I just focus on one? And then I left the band, and the next week I went to Good Nights for the open mic.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So it was meant to be.
It was meant to be.
Do you still play bass?
Yeah, sometimes. I stopped for a while because I was doing stand-up, and that was taking up a lot of time. But then when the pandemic happened, I picked it up again, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I play the drums some. For me, I'm not any good at it.
Mm-hmm.
I can just keep a beat, but I feel like it's a good creative outlet. It's like a good way to get rid of some creative energy.
Yeah.
After I've worked on some other things.
Especially drums. You're banging on shit.
It's fun.
Yeah,
it's really enjoyable.
I forgot who it was that said if you have a friend that you hate, buy their kid a drum set for Christmas.
That sounds about right.
Yeah,
that is funny. We just recently bought a drum set for a buddy, so and for his kid. So yeah, hopefully he can chuckle about that here in a few weeks.
He's not your buddy anymore.
Yeah, right. I think he's a good sport with it, but we'll see. We'll see. I think he'll regret it at some point.
Well, it's especially when you start out playing music. It's not like he's going to be hearing drumming, but it's not like he's going to be hearing great, Whiplash level, Buddy Rich kind of stuff. It's going to hear just a snare drum just hitting and trying. You hear bad drumming. That's probably must be the worst part of it. It's not that you're just hearing this shit you don't want to hear. It's the bad version of it.
It's just noise.
Well, it's like the Ba Ba Black Sheep. Literally, I feel and maybe that's not like that with the drums, but with the piano and guitar, I feel like it's always you're learning these songs, and it's just I'm tired of hearing this shit.
Yeah. That was one thing I liked about playing bass was it's when you're not hooked into an amp, it's much quieter. So I could just play I could play in my room while my parents were sleeping, and it wouldn't really bother them.
Yeah. So what age did you start playing bass?
I started playing bass when I was 12 or I was about 12 when I started playing. I didn't get my first one until I was 13.
Okay.
Because I just used my dad played bass. And I found his bass in the attic, and I was like, this guitar looks weird. And then he showed it to me, and then I started playing it, and then but I'm left-handed. So
you were 12 and you didn't know your dad could play the bass?
I didn't really know what a bass was.
Wow.
Yeah. And Yeah, and then like I just like started playing it, and then I think it was about 13. Went to Sam Ash, got an amp and a bass, and the rest is history.
Hey,
Cool.
you had to flip the guitar over. Did you invert the strings, or did you play at the? Because your dad was right-handed, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I flipped the strings at first, but then like I didn't do that with guitar, because like eventually after playing bass for a while, I started playing guitar too. But for a while, I was like playing, like other people would have guitars. I'd be at places where they'd have them. And then like I'd just start playing, but I couldn't flip someone else's string. So I had to like learn how to play upside down, which was very complicated.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I've seen other people do it. Didn't Hendrix play it upside down, did he? Or did he flip the strings?
I think he flipped the strings.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which if he played upside down, like that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's even.
Well, he was self-taught,
crazier.
so he
Yeah.
could have learned. Typically, people that are on that level, they just have a special gift.
Yeah, there's something there. Like, what's the whole like, oh, you're born great, or like you're become great.
Yeah,
I get told that every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was born great by somebody. I'm not sure who exactly, but somebody's.
I mean,
definitely
like born great? What does that look like? I've
mean,
never.
for a
I
body.
don't,
I'm born great for a body pillow.
okay.
It was a,
You know.
it was a
Yeah.
successful birth.
Yeah, successful birth.
Yeah, I've never
Yeah.
seen like I've never been in a fucking birthing room or whatever they're called, a delivery room. But
Yeah.
like I don't imagine anyone in there is like, this is great.
Yeah, they don't look
I can
great
tell
when
you,
come
it's
out.
definitely not great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
It's
a
kinda
great
traumatic,
experience,
actually.
though.
It's something.
I'm saying it's a great experience. You're saying traumatic.
It's got.
Bro,
I mean, it's got to
it
be.
is
You're not gonna
traumatic,
look
though.
at, you're
Yeah,
not
yeah.
going to look at your partner, your spouse, your girlfriend, your whatever the same way ever again. First of all, and the head looks like a wrinkly tennis ball coming out. Like it's so crazy. It actually will freak you out
It's
when the head pops out and all you see is a head, and you realize, and it's around the throat.
It's such a funny visual.
It is,
like
bro.
just
And
a head,
just a
in
head sticking out,
vagina.
and you got to get past the shoulders, right?
Yeah.
It's the hard part. Mm-hmm. And then it just slides right out.
It's
right?
really amazing.
Well, we don't have to get past.
Yeah,
the
we
shoulders.
don't
She
have
has
to.
to get past the shoulders.
That's true.
That's all. We just have to stand there and
Exactly.
be terrified.
And they're like, "Oh, you want to cut?" I'm like, "Yeah, I want to cut." I wanted to do as much of the delivery. This is my idea. Much of the delivery as I could possibly do, right? That they could legally allow me to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then you woke up.
Yeah. So I did it. I did as much as they'd let me do, clipping the cord, everything, helping deliver the baby. I wanted to do it with each kid.
Mm-hmm.
The first one was definitely traumatic. By the third one, I was just like, why do I keep doing this? Because it
you
takes
had
you
a catcher's mitt.
Dude, it takes you a while to recover from it.
Yeah.
No, see, he started young. 'Cause we didn't have our daughter until I was 36.
Oh,
And
okay. How many kids do you
I got
you
three.
have? Three.
Yeah, my first one, Daniel will be 11 this November, but Jessica got pregnant with him when I was 25, and right after I turned 26, he got here. So,
Fuck, that would mean.
yes, I'm
I
about a
had-
decade ahead of him with the kids, and we waited 9 years. We were together like over 9 years before we started having kids too. So
I think that's the difference, though, between a young dad and an older dad is that I didn't want to do any of it. I was like, I kind of don't even want to see it. But then when we got in there and it started happening, I mean, it's exciting. Like you just something changes. And I'm like, if they're holding her leg, like telling her to push, and I'm all into it. And it's pretty amazing.
I don't
It's a
know.
cool experience.
You're just without getting too graphic. Like what you're gonna realize is doesn't matter how big you think you are, it's irrelevant. If a girl can push out a baby, a big baby, shoulders and all, right, head first, you're not really causing any damage, right? So like, just get that out of your head. Right, just get rid of that. Park that off to the side, and just know that you're not really doing any damage.
I prefer not to do damage. I'm not sure that would be the best way to describe what I try to do to the region.
Well, you never heard that you
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, I killed that. You never been like to
It's
your boy.
weird how we get like that.
Yeah,
With,
yeah.
like, it's
I
a
say-
very.
I used to say that. Yeah, I killed it last night. I killed it, and then you
Yeah.
see the baby come out, and you're like, "What'd you do last night?" Oh, I treated it like a delicate flower. Just caressed it.
Yeah, the baby destroyed it. She
The
blew
baby
up,
definitely-
fucking self-destruct.
Yeah, exactly. The baby
Turned the
definitely killed
key
it.
and pressed the red button.
Yeah,
How did we get to talking about birth?
I have no idea.
I don't know. Let's get back to taxes.
Yeah. How about wait? Before we started recording, you had said what'd you call the name for the president? We're changing the name. It's not gonna be
Oh,
president.
the Master Blast.
Oh,
the
yes.
Master Blaster.
Yeah.
So I actually wanted to say, so like we were saying, hey, we're gonna get attacked by other countries. Nah, motherfucker, the Master
No, the
Blaster,
Master Blaster.
bro.
Yeah.
Especially other countries, they're gonna be like, oh wow,
Yeah.
they changed the
I
title.
don't think
right?
that Elon Musk
They're
named
ready.
our highest office.
I'd kind of like. Wouldn't it be kind of cool to have Elon Musk as a president? I think it'd be kind of funny.
I don't think so.
Maybe.
That'd be. I mean, I don't think he views people as people. Like
he's actually
numbers.
He's actually a pro people guy. He really does care about. He's one of the tech people that has a big
relative to some of the other
big vision for
Yeah,
humanity.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he really does seem to truly care about humanity. Like that's kind of his primary goal is to do things to better humanity.
Yeah. Well, this is an anecdotal thing, but when like his secretary or something like wanted a raise, and like he found out he got like the same amount of work done or something without her, so he just fired her.
He's definitely that way. He's definitely I got you.
So it's more of a like he wants to tinker around with humanity.
And thus is the problem with asking for more money. Somebody is going to look at you and go, "Are you worth more money?"
It may depend on if the way she asked too.
Yeah.
Who knows the situation?
Let's say
he may have just wanted to get rid of her anyway.
That's true. It was a good excuse.
That's
and he had a good reason.
Yeah.
Which he also is
robot
getting rid
boy,
of.
give me a raise.
Yeah. He's also he got rid of all his personal possessions and his houses and everything
And
else.
that's
So I mean, not just doing that to people, he's doing that to inanimate objects as well.
Yeah.
But
He's a character.
He is.
Whatever side you are on the like pro or anti or whatever, he's like a interesting figure in history.
As far as what's the word? Drawing a blank here.
Philanthropy or
no, man. What's
vagina?
Not global warming, but
definitely global vagina warming. Yes, that was the one.
These pussies getting
we're
way too hot.
trying to get away from vaginas.
wet and hot. You need some ice? I just figured out the problem. He doesn't have a drink.
Ma'am, can you close your legs? It's a little hot in here.
Solving global warming one.
But as far as the global warming issue,
we need to cool off these pussies.
Global warming is coming from stripper farts.
What's the word I'm thinking of? Man?
Where's the take on like climate change where it's like, yeah, it's all women's fault? Like, where's the conservative progressive that's coming like, I believe in climate change, but I think it's all because of the Jews. Like, where is that?
But the move, the big like abrupt move toward electric vehicles and stuff like that. He's responsible for all of that.
Yeah, that's true. And we really need that.
And that's a huge. That'll be a huge impact on our.
Yeah.
I think that's what I like about him is he can go up against the man. So the man in this scenario was the oil industry, right?
Yeah.
Like we're going to call it $1 trillion industries.
Trillions.
That were fighting, and he did it to his own detriment, and then finally like prevailed and shifted the whole thing. I like that about him.
Yeah.
Like I don't even have to agree with what he's fighting for. I like a fighter.
Well, even what he's doing with SpaceX is incredible. Like the reusable rockets and the technology to send astronauts to Mars. I think this. I mean, he's probably one of the most important people of our time. Really.
Yeah, I think so. You just have to look at the amount of wealth he has and the fact that he's not just sitting on it, and he actually does have this need to do something with it, Right. Whereas, just
create,
yeah. But it's very interesting.
It is
fascinating,
yeah.
It is.
And I've heard him say, I don't care about profits. I care about reaching my goals.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
It's a very Slytherin thing. If in the Harry Potter world, he's a very ambitious. I'm aging myself. I'm too young to be on this podcast.
I like it though.
Actually, the first Harry Potter movie came out when I was 17, and you were probably 14 or something.
Yeah.
Damn, the last Harry Potter movie came out when I was 17.
I was 23.
That's a very successful series.
Dude, it is. I mean, that basically
most,
those movies. I go back and watch them now, and I have this the books are a lot better and everything. But when I was a kid, that was I look forward to the next movie.
I did too. I love them. They're great
Yeah.
movies. Yeah.
It was the first one came out. Now I'm looking forward to the next one. Now I'm looking I was obsessed with that shit.
I just wonder if we're ever gonna get back to that, where we're gonna be at a delayed gratification for a year or a year and a half for the next one to come out.
Well,
I feel like we've went to instant gratification so much. I wonder if it's rocked the film industry, where we just constantly consume.
Well, I think it's better actually, because I think I think people will consume almost as much as you can put out there.
Yeah, but what I'm saying
Because
is
there's more and more
will
people.
we wait for a
Yeah.
year? Like there are seasons.
Well, with like the Avengers movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't want to wait. If they were already, I want it the next week, right?
Yeah.
Like they just started the
Well,
Avengers
that's
series.
the same thing with like movies back then. You wanted them right then, but
you
you
couldn't get
had
them.
to wait.
Well, even with
Yeah.
series, you have to wait
A
usually a
week,
year.
yeah. I saw there was some review of like WandaVision where like the person said like, yeah, it's more like it's more of like a drawn out movie that you have to wait for every week, and it's like that's what a TV show
Like,
is,
no
right?
shit.
That's
It is.
exactly what it's like.
Yeah.
It has a couple extra character arcs in it, maybe, but
Yeah.
yeah.
But on Disney, they did something, and it's basically, it's got 2 characters in it.
Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yes, Falcon.
I've been
Oh, so,
watching
yeah.
that. That's
Yeah.
a good fucking show.
Yeah, so like that, like I like it, and I'm like, okay, I can wait week to week.
Right.
But like if I had to wait a year in between, it's
Well, you have
just,
to wait a year to see the
Yeah.
next season,
yeah, that's what sucks, man.
but that's just
Yeah.
because it takes so long to produce those things.
That's true.
Yeah.
But
Well, that's like true, especially with like, well, Disney Plus, they're doing it an episode at a time, but with Netflix, it's like they put the whole season out.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
remember like when, like, did you ever, any of you guys watch BoJack Horseman?
Yeah,
I do some, yeah. It's
Yeah.
fun.
I haven't
When,
watched
like-
it in a while, but that used to be my like go-to.
It's did you see the final season though?
No,
Oh my god! But like, it's like BoJack Horseman is one of those shows. I don't know how I can describe it to like people. The ending is just amazing. But like, that like the new season of BoJack Horseman would come out. You'd watch it in like 2 days, and then you have to wait like a year and a half for the next season.
yeah,
Yeah.
I hate that.
Yeah.
But
So it's whereas like it used to be like you get a new one each week, so it's like smaller delayed gratification,
Right.
but it's spread out over time.
right.
I
Yeah.
love that about the Mandalorian because it kind of reminds me of like how I used to grow up watching shows and stuff because it's like once a week.
Yeah,
Disney kind of ekes it out, which is kind of nice instead of like don't get me wrong, I watched all of Stranger Things season 1 in like 8 hours.
Yeah, I did too, man.
Came out,
Yeah.
you know.
Just had a marathon. Yeah. I'll usually, if I find a series I really like, I'll try to binge it.
Mm-hmm.
Just get it over with. Like almost like reading a book. I
Yeah.
Just sit down for 3 hours at a time and
Yeah.
knock
And
it
some
out.
shows only, like some shows, they're only good if you watch it like that.
That's
like,
true, yeah.
Like a lot of Netflix shows. Like I noticed that with like I think it was Orange is the New Black, where like I watched it for a while, and then I think like not the last season, but the season before. Eventually, at one of the seasons, I figured like I'm gonna watch it like once a week, and then I watched like the first episode, and then I watched the next episode like a week later, and I was kind of like, this isn't either the show sucks now or it's just not really doing anything. for
Right.
me.
it's an interesting concept. Well,
I-
so
when I watched Breaking Bad, I had to kind of binge watch that. I'd have to watch maybe 5 or 6 episodes at a time.
I'm really worried about attention spans, though.
Yeah.
Like, so TikTok's all about 15 second to 59 second, basically less than a minute, right?
Yeah.
And it's crazy to watch the analytics of how many people are consuming the information in 15 to 60 seconds, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just wonder, like, are we training people to be instant gratification only? Is it going to change the way the films are released and how the stuff's done?
I've
I
thought
think-
a lot about this.
Oh,
Sorry,
great.
sorry.
No, you're
but
good.
I've thought about this for years because teaching film and then noticing how students react to like, what they're watching and stuff. I think about this a lot. And one of my favorite filmmakers, Tarkovsky, well, his shots go on forever. It's like watching paint dry, but there's something to them that's amazing. But to make yourself focus on that, I had the best time making my students, especially high school students, watch that stuff. And I was surprised. I went through an arc where hardly one could make it through, but then like there was more. I noticed more recently there was more of appreciation for it. So I don't know. It was just kind of interesting. An interesting study.
Yeah.
MTV kind of went really rapid fast, and I'm kind of part of that generation coming out of the 80s, and I got into that. But you kind of want something that
Yeah.
feels different and stuff.
And especially with movies, like with movies, there are like ones that are either standard, like 90-minute, or there's like, like the Snyder cut of Justice League was like 4 hours. Which, like, when I first heard of like the new like Snyder cut, I was like, yeah, I'll probably watch it. Then I heard it was 4 hours, and I was like, I'm not gonna watch 4 hours of a DC movie.
Right.
Like, and I usually like long movies. Like
Yeah.
I think like one of my favorites of movies is Once Upon a Time in America. Have you seen that one?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, fucking De Niro and James Woods, and it's 3 hours and 49 minutes.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Once Upon a Time in America. It came out in like the 80s. It was directed by Sergio Leone.
Who did, Good, Bad, and the Ugly and all that.
Yeah.
Oh, I need to check that out.
Yeah, it's killer from beginning to end. And when I tell people about it, like I'll tell them about the movie, they're like, oh, that's great. And then I tell them it's like 3 hours, 49 minutes. And they're like, I don't think I could sit through that. Then like the new Justice League comes out and everyone's getting on me about watching it. And it's just like, oh, where were you like a year ago when I recommended a good movie to you?
Right. Now you're just watching a movie that has all the shit that was supposed to be cut out of it.
Yeah.
For
you're
4 hours.
watching, like, sometimes deleted scenes need to stay that way.
Right, yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't seen the Justice League Snyder cut, but I saw the first Justice League, and it wasn't bad, but I was just kind of like, I don't want to watch 4 hours of
Maybe
that.
they cut the wrong part out.
Yeah, even if you cut different parts, it's
I have to say that I did see it. I did like it.
You watched all 4 hours?
I did.
Oh, God.
I did. And what I appreciated about it was it actually made the bad guy, you can't, well, I won't say care about him, but like you knew what he was about. He wasn't just a monster that showed up, killed people, and left. They went and gave him a lot of backstory.
Yeah, because that's where Marvel has always had a leg up on DC, at least in the movies, was like, the bad guy, you kind of, not like you said, not sympathize, but you see where he's coming from, like Thanos.
Right, yeah.
And
Ultron.
What's his name from like Black Panther?
Oh,
Michael B. Jordan's character.
I just watched this too again.
I just rewatched all the Marvel movies. I watched Endgame because I got my second vax, and it fucking knocked me on my ass. That shit, like the entire next day, I took off work and I was like, you know what, just fucking lay in bed and watch the Avengers movies, and it all turned out fine.
Yeah, my son wanted to watch, so I gave him in order the last 10 years of basically 10 years what he needed to watch and to get to Endgame, and it took him we don't allow but a certain amount of TV, whatever consumption, but it took him I'd say 4 months.
Wow.
To go through all of them, everything. But I think I gave him a thorough. So he's watching now with me. We're watching once a week. I've been trying to watch with him the new one that just came out. You mentioned
Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Falcon and Winter Soldier. Yeah. So, but yeah, I don't know. It's good shit.
It is. I mean, I
don't know about 4 hours though.
Yeah.
I don't know. Waterworld. That was a long one. That's the first movie. Waterworld's the first movie I ever went to that they had an intermission.
Huh.
At least that I remember. So we're literally in the middle of the movie, the theater just shuts down basically, and you have a chance to go out and go to the concessions again. It was a chance for them to sell.
How long is that movie? I didn't know it was that long.
All I remember about that movie is the pee drinking scene. That's the only
you
thing
talking about where he
I
pees in the
remember.
lemon?
Yeah.
The lemon tree, and then he uses that or something.
Yeah, it was something. When I think of that movie, I think of a dude drinking pee.
It could be
him. It could be him aiming it directly at his mouth. It could be anything. All I know is I associate that with pee drinking.
That's funny.
He definitely drank his pee. Some version of that.
Going back to the attention span thing, I think a lot of this stuff is just evolution. A lot of it, I think it's kind of hubris for us to think that we're really doing all this on our own, will or whatever. So I don't know. I feel like it's probably just our minds adapting to the barrage of information we're exposed to now. I think we'll just get faster at processing information from smaller amounts of data. Just everything will be cut down and simplified. But I think we'll probably eventually merge with all this technology and be able to process way more information at that point. So
yeah,
I think we're just evolving. It's just evolution.
Yeah, it's very interesting. There's an Israeli historian named Yuval Harari who writes a lot about that kind of stuff, and the idea of humans just becoming irrelevant. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, it's not. Does anything really go extinct, or it's like the life form is actually the DNA and the RNA and the in life that is the life form, and it just emerges in different ways or expresses itself in different ways as it continues. And I just feel like we're like the consciousness of nature or the universe or whatever. We're just part of that consciousness, that collective consciousness. So I feel like this thing is just growing and doing whatever it does, and it's a part of whatever it's a part of. But I feel like we're more like passengers on the ride than we are really doing anything ourselves.
Yeah. It's interesting when you think of like consciousness being seen as a collective too, because it's so subjective.
Yeah.
Like in everyday life, but there's like cases where it like syncs together and shit. Like I think there was something about, it was this study where they like gave people crossword puzzles and like they like solved them at like whatever rate, and then they like waited a day before giving them the other crossword puzzles, so like other people had already solved them, and like their scores went up dramatically. So it's like, you know, like once the answers are out there, it like somehow, you know, gets into the collective memory of something. Like there's some sort of subconscious thing connecting us.
Well, I think everything that is created or manipulated by humans is a collection of thousands or millions or more ideas. You know, like you just have certain people that are able to articulate those ideas maybe better. But any idea I've had for any type of artwork I've done or anything, it's all been inspired by many other ideas and many other influences. So
Shoulders of giants kind of thing.
Yeah. And I guess sometimes you see someone that's just so good at something, it's just unbelievable, and maybe that person is just they're like an antenna for that type of idea. You know, they just absorb those ideas flow through that person, that part of the organism. You know? So, but
like the was it the great man theory of history, where it was like every like once or like every generation or so, like just a person would like be born that like changes everything and shit.
Oh yeah.
You know.
I think this generation's got a few of those.
Yeah.
I think it's.
I think it's increasing. I think intelligence is.
I think it's
increasing.
like trends and forces really that are like creating that person
Right,
and shit.
yeah.
But like there are. I mean, history is happening fucking fast.
Well,
like, it's crazy.
So technology, and I've said this before on here, but technology is nature. I look at it just like everything else. It's just as natural as an anthill. It's just ours. You know, we're like the conscious ants of reality. You know, and I feel like technology is part of this evolution that we're going through. And once we do merge, if we merge with this technology, and it can make us, you know, millions of times more intelligent or whatever. I believe that we'll develop the ability to almost freeze time, or at least the experience of time.
We're gonna have to switch to a different what's it called? What's a caffeine? What's it do? It's a
stimulant.
A stimulant. We're gonna have some different type of stimulant if I'm gonna be going for 4 hours. If we're doing the Snyder Cut tonight, I'm gonna have to have something different.
No.
I don't know what that is exactly, but maybe just the pill form of caffeine.
Snyder Cut does sound like a measurement of cocaine.
That's true.
That's funny. Yeah.
That's true.
Snyder
actually.
Cut.
I need the Snyder Cut. So what we really need to know, and I guess this is person specific, is how much cocaine does it take to get through the Snyder Cut? Like the 4 hour long Snyder Cut. What's the Snyder Cut? Right. That's what we need to know. Yeah. And are you going to live through it?
I'll never know either.
I don't think so either. But
I think that like filmmakers like Zack Snyder and like Quentin Tarantino test the limits of like how much coke the human body can take, like every time they make a movie. Like there's a part of me that's like, man, why doesn't Tarantino come out with movies more often? And it's like, but also like I should care about his health. He's got to be fucked up on everything when he makes a movie.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
What were you getting ready to say, Neil? You said something when we first started.
I don't remember.
I think you were going to say the lost footage.
The lost.
Oh no! I was going to ask Jesse if he deleted all the conspiracy stuff that we needed to cut out of the episode.
It's like the Nixon tapes with much more anti-Semitism.
That was actually the real deal. I just had to do my job there.
Yeah. We appreciate that. We appreciate. We got off track, and Jesse, rightfully so, made sure and delete the footage for us. And I won't be doing the helicopter live on set anymore.
Or we just ran out of memory. So.
You're listening to the helicopter podcast.
Yes, the helicopter. Wouldn't it be great if it made a noise like a like that? It'd be awesome.
That would like a sound effect.
Be impressive.
It would be
Yeah,
impressive.
if you could do
like
that.
from like a Three Stooges or like Popeye.
Yeah,
or something.
Yeah.
All I get's like the sloshing of my belly. That's what I
Yeah.
get when I try to do a helicopter.
I wish like 1930s comedy sound effects were real. Like you hit your head on something and it's bunk. Like
Oh, that'd be awesome.
that'd be so funny.
It'd be hilarious.
That would be. What if you developed a brain disorder where you heard things like that?
I would be fine with it.
It'd be interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Now that's a piece of technology I wouldn't mind having in my brain. Or even
yeah.
better, like a laugh track and like a studio audience have like theme music for life. That'd be really cool.
That's interesting.
I'd
yeah.
be down for that.
I'm sure that'll be possible for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. That's
All I hear is the Seinfeld in the background.
Dun, 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 dun.
it's almost like audio AR. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
And then it'll get to a point where like virtual reality will become so real you live in Seinfeld. Like you're in
Well, you
the
could,
diner,
yeah.
where you're in the booth with Jerry, you're part of the contest and you have to
Yeah. They'll probably eventually develop a way to actually let you be in a first-person perspective on any character you want to be.
Yeah.
in
Well,
a film.
there was also that's also like in Ready Player One.
Yeah,
they,
that
like,
was a
go
thing.
into, they go into that movie, and then in like the book. Have you guys read the book?
The book's way more detailed. Yeah.
And they actually like have to act out the
Right.
movie, which is
Yeah.
interesting.
It would have taken 4 movies to make the book, though.
Yeah, yeah. It's a totally different medium.
It
Like
is.
there's a lot. Like I feel like you can't compare books and movies, because like the best example I can think of is Jurassic Park. Like Jurassic Park, the movie, fucking great, one of my favorites. The book, another one of my favorites. But the book is like half like biology textbook, half like horror creature fucking thing. And I don't think most people would be willing to watch a movie that's like a half hour of Jeff Goldblum just explaining chaos theory and like them breaking down like the DNA and everything of the dinosaurs. They have to, make it more cinematic, which is like why a lot of people that read books prefer them to the movies, because it's much more immersive.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I feel like it takes a lot of time to read a book like that. So that's one problem.
That's
it takes
the
much longer to read a
problem I
book like
have,
that
yeah.
than watch a movie like that. But I do feel like if you do have the time and you sit down and actually read a book like Ready Player One, you're going to have a much more immersive experience. It's like actually when I read that book, I was listening to some like synth wave type music and stuff, and it goes along great with that book.
I
But
listened to the Back to the Future score. when
oh,
I
cool, yeah.
read it,
I listen to some film scores when I read too,
Yeah.
but or even if I'm just working on some stuff. But
I usually go with jazz, but like for that, I was like, it has to be like some '80s like throwback.
yeah, it creates a certain mood.
Yeah.
But it's just more submersive. But I think once technology reaches a certain level where you're able to have those more deep experiences, I think it could be probably more submersive in a movie type setting. If you're actually living the experience, or maybe they do it where you do that while you're reading it or something.
Yeah.
Which you kind of do anyway, but
Virtual reality is like, because you also have to think about like whenever people talk about virtual reality, they're talking about video games usually.
Yeah.
So like, what video game are they going to come out with that you have to have virtual reality to play it, and so everyone's going to want to play it? Like people didn't buy like TVs because they just wanted to have a TV. They wanted
That's a
to
good
watch
point.
like I Love Lucy.
Oh, yeah,
They
yeah.
wanted to-
So when's the hit VR game going to come out that makes everybody want it?
yeah,
That's a good
what's
point.
it gonna be?
Yeah, I mean, I've got we both have an Oculus Quest 2, and they're awesome. But
That's a time warp for me. I got to be careful with that shit.
I do too. I haven't used mine in like 2 months, but
Yeah, me neither.
for that
because of
reason,
that.
because you get sucked into it.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But very submersive, but also a lot of fun, and just even just watching movies or something, it's really cool. But I know Apple's working on something that's supposed to be pretty incredible that should come out maybe this year or next year, but it's going to be real expensive. Like they're talking maybe $3,000 or something. But But I would imagine within 5 years there'll be some really awesome VR tech,
Yeah.
VR and AR.
Yeah. Everyone's gonna have. We're gonna have VR before we have healthcare, which is very funny. if you
100%.
think about it.
That's
Yeah.
hilarious. That's a good point. But
Well, we already do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
that's
exactly right.
Yeah, it's already happened.
You're exactly right.
Do you follow Ray Kurzweil any?
No.
He's a
Ray Kurzweil.
yeah, he's a brilliant inventor and entrepreneur, and he's actually currently I think the head engineer at Google. But
Okay.
he's a futurist. Like 86% of his predictions have come true since '99.
Wow.
And he wrote a book called, I think it's called The Singularity Is Now. He wrote that about a decade ago. But he's the guy that has predicted that by 2030 we'll start to merge with technology, and then in the 2030s, and he shows the data and how technology is exponential. Can't remember the term he uses, but all technology is exponential, not just like computer technology or digital technology, but even medical, genetic technology and stuff like that. So, but he believes that by the early 2030s, we'll start to develop genetic technologies to drastically slow down or even stop our aging. And then in the 2030s, we'll be able to reverse aging. We'll already be merged with technology, probably through some kind of nanotechnology, and not Bill Gates's vaccines.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't believe that, by the way.
Yeah.
But you know, like nanotechnology that's designed to interact with other technology, so you'll be directly linked to the internet and to your computer and stuff like that. But
Kind of like, have you ever seen that movie Mr. Nobody? It's about this. It's an amazing movie. It's about this guy who is like the last person to like naturally die, because it's like the future.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
And they have like self-regenerating cells or whatever. They invented that, and everyone has them. And this is the the last person to like actually die. And it's like this person interviewing him on his life, and he's fucking old as shit, so he doesn't remember, like, there's all this like gray area, and it goes through like the decisions that he made, and like, okay, when he was a kid, his parents got divorced. What would his life have been like if he went with his mom? What would his life have been like if he went with his dad? What if what if he married this girl? What if he married this girl? You know, it's like all these offshoots about all these decisions that he made in his life.
Interesting.
Yeah.
When did this come out?
This was like, I don't know, 2003 or something.
Wow.
It's Jared Leto. Yeah, it's
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's one of those movies that like, there are movies like Inception that like everyone says like, it's a mind fuck, when really it's like, no, the top was just spinning because that's in the script, you know. But like this actually does make you think, because it makes you think about like your own life and shit, and like the implications of everything.
And it's very possible. I watched a lecture by David Sinclair recently. He's a geneticist at Harvard, and he's the guy that discovered NMN. And he's been working on anti-aging his whole career. And
is he like a fucking horrific looking old dude?
That he looks pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah, he's in his 50s.
Oh, so it's working.
Yeah, he looks young.
Okay, cool.
And
yeah, he looks. I'd say 20 years younger than what he is. 15 years at least. I mean,
yeah, probably 15.
Damn.
Yeah,
This guy's name is David Sinclair.
Yeah,
I fucking
David
trust
Sinclair.
that. If
Well, he seems like a good dude too. He seems to really care about humanity and making these technologies affordable and available. And really all those guys in that field are kind of like that. They're kind of anti-giant corporate, like mega corporation. And,
because that's how, like, in movies, that's where it goes wrong.
Yeah.
Like, there's this, you know, the whole thing about the mad scientist. 90% of the time, there's like a corporation or a politician behind them trying to, you know.
But anyway, he said in this lecture, he was saying that where he actually showed they've done some studies on rats. They're in I guess the first stage of trials with some of this anti-aging, where they're using CRISPR to change the. I guess they're using CRISPR to modify the genome of the animal, and it causes the telomeres on the DNA to extend. So like the telomeres are proteins on the DNA. So every time your DNA replicates itself, the telomeres get shorter. and that's what makes you age because it's like damaging the data, and because we're all just code, right?
Yeah,
And
essentially.
So they've developed this technology using CRISPR where they can modify your genetic code and use like a benign virus to I guess contain that change. I mean, it's high tech science, but they inject this modified virus into your body or into the body of the animal, and it actually reverses its aging. So the animal looks younger. It gains its strength back. It's pretty amazing. And they had 2 mice that were the same age, and one just looks old and pretty bad, and the other one looks like a young, healthy mouse.
Wow. This does sound like the process that would be over like the opening credits to a science fiction movie.
Yes.
Is someone with like the rat, and they take out the like old dangy rat, and they take out like the young like fuckable rat, and like all of the
Yeah,
That's true.
and then you see it focuses on the background in this big cages with 2 people in it. Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be fucking interesting.
some really old dude, and then some really young, strapping guy that's his twin brother.
You guys want to write a movie together? I feel like we've got a few premises floating out here already.
Yeah, that's a good one. So he said there's no reason that he believes it's not going to work on humans or on humans. So and they believe that this technology will be available within a decade probably. So it's pretty exciting. And I know people are worried about population and stuff like that, but we're getting way better at dealing with our carbon footprint and stuff like that, and also humans don't take up a lot of space on the planet. We only inhabit like 5% of the planet, and if you took all of humanity and put them together shoulder to shoulder, we would all fit on something about the size of Manhattan. So we're not as vast as we think we are.
Yeah, it's just like we think about like how much waste and stuff we're producing.
We produce a lot of garbage.
Yeah.
But that's correcting.
Yeah.
And I think I feel confident.
Yeah, like carbon capture technology and
Right,
shit.
yeah.
And,
And
I
just
think we need to get on
creating
board
less
with
carbon,
nuclear
too.
energy.
What is it?
I think like more people need to get on board with nuclear energy now.
They do. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
one of the right now it's the cleanest.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I think it's 4 times less carbon.
And it's way
than
safer
solar.
now too than it used to be. And I've read something about they have some designs for like small, like mini nuclear
Yeah, I've heard of that.
plants or something. They're like small nuclear facilities that you just put them, you scatter them, and they're much safer.
Have you seen the dude that built a reactor in his garage? That stuff's pretty crazy. If you go online, I forget his name, but like he's got his.
What kind
really
of cancer
smart
does he
dude.
have?
I don't know.
What kind of what?
What kind of cancer does he have?
Oh yeah,
That's
that was
a
my
great question. But
Yeah,
like he's just chilling in his house. He's like obviously a pack rat, but he knows his stuff. Highly scientific, and he's like working on it. I'll try to see if I can dig him up while we keep on talking. But pretty neat guy. Yeah.
Well, especially with like the waste for nuclear too, it's the only type of energy waste that we can safely contain. Like solar panels have a lot of like heavy metals and shit that like there aren't that many safe ways for us to dispose of all those without like like shit entering the air and people breathing it in and shit.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I mean, I think they probably last a long time though.
Yeah, they do, but.
I really like the Tesla solar tiles. Those are really interesting.
I haven't seen those. I don't keep up with technology as much as I probably should.
They look like glass tiles, but they look really nice.
But they're like solar.
Yeah, but they're solar.
Okay.
Yep. Each one has solar cells in it. And they just bring all the solar to one of the Tesla walls. So you have this backup battery that way it keeps the power overnight and stuff. And they can be fully self-sustaining. It's really interesting.
So they take in the same amount of energy as like one of the big panels that we see, or is it like a...
Probably more. They take in enough energy to fully sustain the house.
Wow.
As long as it has, direct
like
sunlight.
one tile?
No, the whole roof.
Oh, the whole roof.
Yeah,
Okay.
the whole roof is the panel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His name is Doug Coulter, by the way.
Okay.
Check him out.
Doug Colt.
Interesting.
So he made an entire nuclear reactor in his garage.
Well, he built.
How is that legal?
Evidently.
I don't want to get in our neighborhood to have a nuclear reactor.
No.
That is, I'm pretty sure that is the origin story of at least 7 Spider-Man villains.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, he built it in his.
That's basically Dr. Octopus, right?
It's in Virginia. It's in his basement, and apparently he's not in jail. So
There must have been
imagine
some
it's,
obscure law for
Yeah.
to get a license to do that or something. They forgot about it. Like, I don't think we can give you a license for a nuclear reactor, sir. He's like, it's right here. They're
Vice
like,
has
It's
a
like
piece on it.
a sports movie from like a kid's sports movie. It's like doesn't say anything in the rule book about a dog playing basketball.
Could be.
It's like, well,
Airbuds,
yeah.
something like that. Which one was that from?
Airbud.
Yeah.
I'm sure after that movie came out, a lot of like sports divisions or whatever had to write Airbud rules
Yeah.
into them. That'd be funny.
Has the guy been arrested or anything? Or
No. I mean, you can check him out. Vice has a whole story on him. And
They're just
everything.
afraid
Yeah, he's just been a
that-
news story, is what I've seen.
wow.
That is right up Vice's alley.
Oh yeah, that's perfect for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where does it say we're at in Virginia? Tell me, like, not Danville. Like, hopefully
Let's
it's
see.
hopefully it's in the mountains.
It just says backwoods of Virginia.
You can probably see it from
So,
space.
In the mountains.
probably.
It's glow like an orb. Yeah. That green glow. He looks like Toxie from the Toxic Avengers.
Oh yeah. Toxic.
Yeah.
It's like Jeff Goldblum from in The Fly.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good movie.
That's an amazing movie.
It
That's
is.
like that's I think my favorite Cronenberg
It's
fucking.
a tough one.
Because
It's
I
a really good
rewatched
movie.
that at the when the vice presidential debate happened with Mike Pence and Kamala, and like that fly landed on his head, and everyone was talking about it. And like my only thought was like, man, I haven't watched The Fly in like 5 years, and I watched it, and like I came
didn't
back
watch
and
it.
everyone was talking about these fly jokes are old, and I was like, well, I had a much better time because I was just watching Jeff Goldblum turn into a fly and scare the shit out of Gina Davis.
It is a great movie.
It's a great movie. He's a great actor. I don't.
Oh, he is,
I
yeah.
don't like the kind of fame he has, if that makes sense. Like I feel like a lot of people like Jeff Goldblum ironically, in the
Right.
same way they like Nicolas Cage or something. They like that he has this like they think he's funny,
Yeah.
like some type of thing. Which like he is funny, but I
Yeah,
feel
yeah.
like he's also an amazing actor.
He doesn't get enough credit, maybe. Yeah.
Same thing with Nicolas Cage. The world is wrong.
Oh,
about
for sure.
Nicolas
Yeah,
Cage.
he's a great actor. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen Adaptation?
Oh, brilliant.
I don't think I've seen that.
Brilliant. It's amazing.
Yeah.
The last one of his movies I watched was The Color Out of Space.
I need to see that.
Oh, it's good, man.
That's on Shudder, isn't it?
I
What's
think
that
it's on
on?
there.
Yeah.
It's on Is it on Netflix still?
Is it on Netflix?
I don't.
Or was it on Amazon, maybe?
Are you thinking of Blue is the Warmest Color? Because I know that's
I
on
saw
Netflix.
it recently. I think it is on HBO, maybe.
Oh shit! Then I'll have to.
Or what? I'm not sure.
Because isn't that's from the same producers of Mandy or the same?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mandy was good too.
Mandy was fucking great.
was good.
Chainsaw Battle.
I liked The Color Out of Space better, although it should have been longer. They missed a lot. I feel like it was such a captivating movie that they could have done more with it.
Okay. Yeah.
No. The only thing I can think about with Nicolas Cage is I think 2009, maybe 2010, I was in the Bahamas and I was looking at his one of his yachts that the annual maintenance on staff, everything, full staff, he kept full kitchen, a chef, and docking, everything was like $4 million a year. And then I remember subsequent to that, him going bankrupt and losing everything.
Yeah, yeah.
And
He has
because
problems.
I always had this thought, like, I don't care how much money you make, paying $4 million a year for a yacht that you've only been on twice in the last 2 years
Makes no sense.
Yeah.
makes zero sense, right? And I was like, I remember saying this to somebody, I was like, if he keeps spending like that, doesn't matter how much money he's making, eventually he'll run out of money. And then when he went bankrupt, and then I felt like he just started acting in everything. It's like, okay, and I think it's his uncles.
Oh, is that what happened?
I think his uncles are huge in the film. Like they're
Well, a lot of
His
them-
uncle's Francis Ford Coppola.
yeah. So that's this. Yeah. So this is how he.
Wow.
This is there's a whole thing to Nicolas Cage, right? So then he just starts working on everything,
Yeah.
right? Which
It's that quantity thing.
it's that quantity
talking
thing,
about.
yeah. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
which rolls back to. Why don't you go ahead and say it just in case it's part of the lost footage? What's the quote?
yeah, the Napoleon quote, quantity has a quality all its own.
Right. So Nicolas Cage is evidence of that because sometimes in that quantity, he has some quality things that come
Yeah.
out, and sometimes it's just shit.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily him. It's just the movie. There was nothing for
Yeah,
him to
so
work
it's a
with
bad
because
script,
the,
yeah.
the script was bad. The movie was.
Yeah.
But the money was good.
The money was good. The money was good. You know.
Or
So
decent, at least.
yeah, he recovered. He
Enough
sold
to
that
help him
yacht, by the
recover.
way.
There's a new one called Willy's Wonderland. I have some friends.
Yeah,
that
that's-
have
I wanna
seen
see
it. I haven't
that.
seen it
Willy's
yet, though.
Wonderland.
Yeah.
Looks good.
He just runs around like killing a bunch of like, I don't know. I think it happens at like one of those places like,
Fun house or something.
yeah, like a Fun House or Showbiz Pizza kind of joint.
It looks
you know?
like what's
You
that?
had me at runs around killing a bunch of.
Does-
As soon as you said that, I was like, I'm watching this movie.
What's
Yeah.
that? What's that video game? Night at Freddy's or
Five
something?
Nights at Freddy's?
Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah.
My
Oh,
nephew
shit.
plays that. I think.
I got
but
Yeah.
it looks
PTSD from that shit.
like that. That's what.
Oh, okay.
It looks like it's
That's
inspired
cool.
by that. Yeah.
Is it Five Nights or Fast Nights?
5 Nights.
It's Fast Nights at Freddy's High.
Oh, it is fast.
Ridgemont.
That's it.
Oh,
No, it's Five Nights at Freddy's.
I thought it was 5 Nights.
I
Yeah.
couldn't
Yeah.
remember Fast, but I
Fast
don't know.
Times at Ridgemont.
Fast
High.
Fast
Times.
Times at Richmond
That's what
High.
it
Yeah.
is.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
No, this is like a horror video game.
Oh
Called
yeah, it's
Five
a
Nights
little
at Freddy's.
ugly ass bear.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, my middle son is like, oh, I don't know how the hell he found out about it, but we downloaded it on my laptop for me to play with him, and I'm like, what the fuck is this, bro?
Yeah, that's what I thought when my nephew showed it to
I was
me.
like, I was like, this, and Sebastian's like, oh yeah. I was like, nah, bro, I don't want to play this.
No, yeah. I don't like. I like horror. I like horror movies.
I
I
do
didn't
too.
for the longest time, but like now I like kind of had to desensitize myself to them at some point because I love watching movies and I've seen like so many. There was this one genre that like I couldn't get into, which was horror. So then I just had to jump into the deep end and watch all these fucked up horror movies. But horror video games I can't get into. It's too it's. I feel like I'm in it too much.
Oh, okay.
A movie, I'm watching something happen to someone else.
Yeah, yeah.
A
Right.
video game, it's me.
I love
Yeah.
horror movies.
Yeah, same here.
But yeah, actually,
And especially lately, there's a lot of good horror movies coming out.
early on, like the only horror video game I think I really liked was, or the only horror video games I liked were probably like Wolfenstein, Doom, and Quake
I know those names.
back in the early '90s.
So there's something now though where like
Id
people are going
Software.
around Death by Daylight or something like that, or some I can't remember the name of it, but like basically like you got Freddy, right? Or you've got this killer that goes around killing, and you've got a team of 4 or 5 people, and you guys are like, let's say you're in the woods, and you guys are trying to survive, and you can help revive each other, and this guy captures you and kills you, and he hangs you up on a meat cleaver, right? And then for a little bit, somebody can come save you, but otherwise, his goal is to get everybody on meat cleavers, and so there's one person that's in this group, like
This is what like people do to have a good time. It's
I'm
like,
telling you.
yeah, you guys want to go like play this game where this person murders you and hangs you with a meat cleaver?
so one of my
I
younger
saw
brothers
that
is telling me
movie
about it. I'm like,
Goodfellas, and when the guy gets got and he's on the hooks in the fucking freezer, I want to do that. Let's
Yeah.
do that this afternoon.
but that's what they're playing, man.
That's oof.
One of my brothers, they're like, oh, they're all into it, and then a couple of his buddies, I'm like, nah, man, I'm good.
What's it called?
I think it's called Death by Daylight, but I can't
Okay.
remember. I'm probably like doing a terrible job. Let me look it up.
Is it a computer game or is it a console game?
That's a good question.
I feel like the anything is both now, right? Like they're
Those-
releasing them on all.
The games I was talking about, Wolfenstein, Doom.
It's called
Those are
Dead.
the first 2 first-person shooters.
I think it's called Dead by
Yeah,
Daylight.
I think I've played those in like an arcade. I was never super, or when I was a kid, I was into video games, but like,
Those were computer
All right.
games.
yeah.
Microsoft, so Dead by Daylight,
Dead by
survival
Daylight.
horror video game, and it's released for Microsoft Windows in June 2016, and then subsequently on PlayStation 4, and then a year later on Xbox One. So it just
Okay.
caught, and then 2 years later on Nintendo Switch. So now it's on everything.
Yeah.
It's called Dead by Daylight.
Okay.
So who knows?
Video games are a time
I
trap.
want to
man.
see what prescription medication the people that play that are on.
I agree with that.
'Cause
Did you ever play League of Legends?
No.
Ever heard of it?
I've heard of it, yes.
Yeah, so I don't play games but in my entire history, it's just never been my thing. I did have like a period of unproductivity in my life. There was an 18-month period where I had to reset and everything, and in that 18-month period, there was a small window of me not doing what I needed to be doing, and I started playing this game, and it started with a challenge.
That's on the app. It's like an app on your phone, right?
It may be that you
Yeah.
have it now, but it was on a computer when I was doing it. And I like got
Severely depressed.
way too into it. Yeah, I was depressed, and that was what I was doing. I guess that was my outlet. Got way too in it. So like so much so that I started using things in real life from the thing. So like capture the Nexus, which is how you won the game, would mean having sex with a girl. Like, did you capture that Nexus last night? Yeah, bro. I fucking dominated. It's like, all right, that's when I've been playing this game way too fucking much.
In the game, is that what it's called?
In the game,
capturing the Nexus is having sex with a woman?
No. In the game, capturing the Nexus is how you won. That's how you win. But in life, I started using like terms from this game with everybody else that doesn't play the game.
Oh,
Like, I just started applying, and I was like, I'm playing this game way too much.
oh, you're using game lingo in normal conversation.
Yeah, and it worked great.
And people are like, what are you
The
talking about?
the irony of being super good at a game and using that as an analogy to having sex with a woman is pretty amazing.
I thought it was at the time.
That's true.
No, that's clever. That's funny.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
So as far as like comedy, do you like pretty much stick to like in-state or East Coast, or you travel around? Like what do you like? What do you do? What were you doing before like COVID times and stuff?
Before COVID, I was living in Atlanta, doing comedy down there, and because I was new to Atlanta, I'd only been there for a couple months when COVID happened. I was really just performing in Atlanta, and even when I guess the real answer, I don't go on the road that much.
How was the comedy scene in Atlanta?
It's great. It was amazing.
How many mics can you do down there?
I on average went on stage 8 times a week.
Wow.
Yeah, they are.
So you're doing like how many in one night? 2 or 3?
Yeah, one to 3. Tuesdays. I was never able to do this, but if you timed it right, you could go to 4 different mics.
Wow.
Yeah, which is insane.
Yeah, it's like New York or something.
Yeah, and like the only difference is like you drive as opposed to New York, you just take the subway and shit.
Yeah.
But like, it's there's a lot of comedy. It's coming back now. Like I've got friends that are down there and they're talking about shows and shit that are coming back. But like,
Nice.
yeah.
Did you have anything big lined up that got destroyed by the pandemic?
I had like 3 shows lined up that I was like supposed to do that like I was looking forward to. I was like, oh sweet, I'm finally on this showcase. And then it was like COVID happened like a week into it. On the same day, like everyone like canceled the shows and I got fired and like I had to pay rent. Like it was like there was this one day early in quarantine where like everything just happened at once.
Yeah.
Early quarantine was great though. Once you get through that, it was just, hanging out watching The Sopranos.
yeah. I think a lot of people really thoroughly enjoyed it when they thought it was just going to be 2 or 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
Yeah.
I definitely did. Yeah.
Like a long snow period.
When people started realizing that it wasn't going to be 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, it was kind of like, oh shit.
I thought it was going to be like a month, and like I'd just like just take a break and because I was like busy all the fucking time. I was working and doing comedy, so I was like constantly on the move. And so then like I was like, oh cool, I'll have like a week or 2 off. And now it's like a year later, and it's like, oh,
we missed
shit.
a year.
Yeah.
So do you have anything lined up now, or any plans to move back to Atlanta?
Yeah, I'm moving back to Atlanta June 1st.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
Moving
good.
down there with a couple comics. It's gonna be cool. I can't wait to be
Very
back
cool.
there. I miss all my friends. I miss the stage time. Not that here isn't great. I love I love the Carolina comedy scene. I love the Idiot Box.
Yeah.
Jenny,
Shout out to the
please
Idiot Box.
book me. Yeah, shout out Idiot Box. Idiot Boxes are truly great.
Oh, they're awesome.
club.
Yeah. Sure.
Now, I got a bone to pick with Jenny when you're watching this, Jenny. Last Thursday, like I went to book like 2 hours early for an open mic. And who sells out open mics? Like, it shouldn't happen. And I went to book and was sold out. Wouldn't let me book. So
That open mic sells out a lot, man.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. I just like to show up and get my way and have my own little table with my friends. But so he's like, oh, you should message Jenny. So I messaged Jenny, and she's like, yeah, sold out. Sorry. I was like, I'll come stand at the bar, whatever. But either way.
They already sold it this week, Thursday.
Well, I probably gotta go to Colorado.
you'll be gone, yeah.
Otherwise, I was gonna hit because she asked me. She's like, "You want me to reserve seats for you?" I was like, "I think I'm gonna go out of state to let you know." But
Yeah.
That was a great backhanded compliment
Yeah.
that you did there.
Yeah.
It's like, man, you know what I hate about them? They're doing well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
What's it called?
Their business is
It's
booming.
called
Incomplacent.
Well, it's not booming, but
thank you.
doing.
Compared to like a lot of other
I mean,
places,
it's
boxes.
coming back to life.
Yeah.
I mean, they can't do more than that. That's
Yeah.
35 is max capacity right
Yeah,
now.
but like,
So-
they're going really well. Idiot Box is great. There's a lot of great rooms.
I think a lot of stuff's gonna take off like that though, because people miss it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah, I think Jenny should make the comics wait outside, and that way it doesn't count towards the 35 people.
well,
But
it's actually possible.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. But either way, yeah. No, I like the Idiot Box.
No,
a lot.
the open mics though,
Yeah.
you want the comics inside there so they can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
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 I actually thoroughly enjoyed it. I started going with him just to. I think the first one I went to was when you were like graduating or whatever the class.
Yeah,
Remember
yeah.
that? What's
Oh,
it
you
called?
took a class?
Yeah, with Steve.
Oh,
Yeah.
sweet.
That's really good.
So I did that one, and then I was like, oh, and then I went again, and I think I've been like 7 or 8 times, 9 times now. I mean, a lot, but I actually thoroughly enjoy it. It's kind of like become my Thursday night routine. If I'm in the state,
Yeah.
I like to go check out Idiot Box, do that, and then grab if we got time, grab a bite beforehand. If not, just get there 8 o'clock,
Yeah.
hang out, do the deal. Once it gets going, it's open. It runs about an hour and a half depending, and then it's I thoroughly enjoy it. It's become
fun.
a staple for me.
Yeah.
I actually was disappointed last week when I couldn't go. I was like, God damn it,
Damn.
like, Jenny.
Should have season tickets.
Yeah, I'm just gonna have to tell her. Well, see, I thought about that because the tickets are so cheap. I was just gonna buy a ticket for the rest of the year for Thursday night. So I always had it, right? Just prepay for it. It's a great idea, except I don't want to be inconsiderate
Yeah.
because if I'm not gonna be there, I'd rather
Exactly.
somebody be in that seat,
Right. Yeah.
right? So if I can solve that, I'll definitely do it.
Well, yeah, that's what people do with season tickets. That's like the plot of multiple Seinfeld episodes. Like, hey, Steinbrenner has box seats if you're trying to get to that. I don't know where that's going. I just wanted an excuse to fit a Seinfeld reference in there
There you go.
somewhere.
Yeah.
That's what I'll do. I'll start hustling.
It's actually impressive you know about Seinfeld.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, I'm a
You're
fucking.
so young.
I'm a Jew, man. That's what we're raised on.
How do you feel about Ben Shapiro?
Oh, he's fucking.
Because I know
he's a smart guy that's wrong about everything.
He's obnoxious. Yeah.
Yeah, he like his most recent take that I heard was like he was talking about how like he was saying like voter suppression, like long lines at like the polling places isn't voter suppression in the same way that long lines at Disney World isn't rider suppression. And it's like that you don't have a constitutional right to go on a fucking ride, you dipshit. It's like, what are you talking about? He's very good at memorizing certain statistics and being very selective and saying them very fast so that the person, whoever he's debating or something.
he's definitely
you know.
smarter than 90% of the people he debates.
Yeah, but he also debates like college students
I agree.
and people that are like
Yeah.
19.
It's not his fault they're stupid.
Yeah, but then also like
But-
anytime he does go up against someone who's like genuinely smart, like not even someone that's genuinely smart, like that dude on BBC when he went on, and
Yeah.
the dude just like said a basic fact. He was like, "Yeah, people are saying that these abortion laws are going back to the dark ages," and he just like went off on some fucking tangent
Yeah.
that was, he got destroyed with facts and logic.
Yeah.
If we're going by his.
I think it's rare he gets destroyed, but I have seen it because I watched both sides. I like him. I think there's a little Jew in me somewhere. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that or not. But so,
There's a little Jew in me somewhere.
there's a little
I
Jew
can't-
somewhere in there. Maybe it's just
Yeah.
the financial conservatism and
Are you
and
having gay sex with Jews? 'Cause then there's a Jew
Homosexual
inside.
joke. Yeah.
homosexual joke.
Which Ben Shapiro's against.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh,
that's
that's
true.
right,
But that's why I asked about because I
Which-
know some of the stuff we had talked about earlier, and then
Yeah.
I was like, a fellow Jew, man. How do you feel about Shapiro? So I like.
Well, I think people like him lean into it though. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's
Definitely.
It's a
especially on Israel.
it's his
Yeah.
shtick, you know, like
Yeah.
he makes money from that. So the more he leans into it, the more
100%.
the stronger
It's
his
like
base.
Dave Ramsey,
Right. Yeah.
right?
perfect
Dave Ramsey's
example.
debt free,
Yeah.
da 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 da. And I don't want to bash Dave. I'm going to be out there soon, so I'm not going to say what I was going to say. But I'll just say, like, I get it, but that's his stick, right? He can't change it now.
Yeah.
He can't be like, oh, well, some debt's good. You know, oh, well, business
Yeah.
debt's good. Oh, because his whole deal is
Yeah.
debt free, right? Like everything.
And it's
But-
also it's ironic with like like Ben Shapiro and a lot of the like right wing Jews when most Jews, at least in America, are generally pretty left wing. Like there's this like Jewish I don't know what you would call it, teaching or whatever, called Tikkun Olam, which means repair the world. And you can see that with a lot of like the Jews during the civil rights movement, like
Right.
a lot of, pretty much all of the white freedom riders were Jews, Karl Marx, Jewish, Abby Hoffman, Jewish, like all of these left-wing, Bernie Sanders, like a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
Marianne Williamson. I don't know why I just slurred my speech there, but it's interesting when you see the same religion, the same like philosophy or whatever used to justify either side.
We
Yeah.
see with anything, but I think I think it's a natural thing to have people that are more conservative or more liberal because it's always a balance, and you kind of need both because they've done studies that show that more liberal people are typically more creative. They also have really good ideas, but they're not the best at implementing those ideas. Where more conservative people are better at analyzing the ideas and then putting them into place and implementing them. And I think one of the problems today is that we have this party system that divides people and puts them against each other. So they're instead of working together and each using their strengths to solve problems, they're actually just fighting each other, and nothing's being solved.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially with like the way that we were talking earlier about like campaign finance and gerrymandering and all that shit. I think it's 86% of congressional elections are non-competitive because they're so gerrymandered to the point where it's like, no, this is definitely a Democrat is definitely going to win this, or a Republican is definitely going to win this. It's all in the primary.
Yep.
And so then it's all about like who gets the most money and is able to.
Yep.
That's why like you look at people that reach across the aisle like Ro Khanna and like Bernie Sanders and like
Bernie doesn't reach as much.
He reaches on common ground. He doesn't give up his policy positions.
Yeah, some of his
which he shouldn't because he's right on like most of them.
The problem with that is the people on the other side are going to say they're right and they shouldn't give up any ground.
Yeah.
So the best deal.
That's where you got to find things that you agree on. Like if you're a Republican
I
that
feel like
doesn't.
somebody that's really good at that would be like Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah.
She's great at and even Andrew Yang. Like they're both.
Oh, Andrew Yang is.
They're
great.
both excellent at dealing with.
Yeah.
They're both pretty central. They're pretty neutral in their ideology.
Yeah,
they're like independents.
Objective.
Yes.
Objective, because they definitely lean to one side of the aisle more.
They're leaning to the left, but they're centrist. They're. I think they would be independents if they could survive in that.
I think independent is like a better word for it too, because I don't know. I think that a lot.
There's just no money there for independence. That's the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
The machine doesn't want independence.
Yeah.
It doesn't want to bring people together. It keeps it runs on
division.
Yeah, division.
Matt Taibbi writes about that in a book I haven't read called Hate Inc., where he talks about after the Cold War, after 40 years of the media portraying the Soviet Union as like that's the enemy, that's who we're against and everything. After the Soviet Union fell, they were like, okay, well, we can't stop the outrage machine now. So now the person you're supposed to be afraid of is the person that is on the other side of the other political tribe than you are. Hey, you're a Democrat, you're supposed to hate Republicans. Hey, you're a Republican, you're supposed to hate Democrats. And so they basically that's why it's so divided today. Yeah, a big part of that is because the media just makes us all hate each other, and the focusing on the culture war as
the military industrial complex.
Yeah, because the whole we're so divided on policy. We're not really that divided.
No, people aren't as divided. Most people are in the middle.
Yeah, or not even most people are in the
Pretty
middle.
close.
Most people are generally on certain positions on the left, depending on how you define it. If you look at things like higher corporate tax rates, if you look at things like either a public option or single-payer health care, if you look at, legalizing marijuana, if you look at certain policies, public opinion tends to generally be on the left. More majority of people support like an equal pay law, for example.
Well, see, things like the higher corporate taxes, the pay law, the higher minimum wage laws, they don't solve the problem. The problem still goes back to there's not enough money. You can't, if you took all the money from the corporations, there still wouldn't be enough money.
Yeah.
And corporations don't really pay taxes anyway. All of their profits get
Offshore
paid out. No, they get paid out to people that work for the company
Yeah.
or own the company.
See, think about if it's publicly traded. If it's a publicly traded corporation,
Yeah.
it's owned by individuals.
Yeah.
The corporation
Corporations don't make
But
money.
still, only, I think, 92% of the stock market is owned by like the top 5% or something in that area. Because
Yeah.
the wealth is
It
still
still doesn't
going
matter, though.
to a
You're-
very centralized.
Corporations don't make money though. They
Yeah.
pay it all out. So that's
So the problem is, and this is where, because like I agree with the gist of what you're saying.
Yeah.
Let me look it up real quick so we do the right numbers. But what's Elon? Who's the wealthiest person right now? Is it? It's Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
Elon Musk is right now, but there was
Yeah,
Jeff
and
Bezos.
so you'd say the people that are that they're paying it out to people that are invested in the company, or
But if
so-
you
because
Bezos
Bezos
tax
has
if you-
like I don't know, like over 100 billion.
but that's not
in
liquid.
the-
That's net worth. That's
100
Yeah.
It's not real money.
Yeah, this money's
Right.
not liquid, but 163 billion is Elon Musk right now. Okay.
Dropped a lot.
Yeah,
Now,
It's
if you
it's not liquid though. It's just net worth.
yeah.
It's whatever the
But
companies are
still,
worth.
net worth is still a pretty good indicator on how someone's doing financially.
Oh yeah, he might have a couple billion or something. That's still not going
All
to
right.
change anything in our society.
now there's
It's not-
10.4
it's
million 10.4 million adults in United States.
That can't be right.
Is that right?
No, there's 330 million.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
People,
no,
yes.
my bad. U.S. It's good. That makes my number better.
In Jeff Bezos' ideal world, there will only be 10 billion people. Or I don't know where that's going.
Jeff
but
Bezos reminds me of Lex Luthor a little bit. Oh.
It's crazy. They are basically like, a lot of them are basically fucking super villains.
There we go. 328.
If you look at what they're doing in like Alabama right now, especially, like Amazon is doing everything they can to stop people from unionizing.
Well, unions aren't always good for business. And
No.
you know, here's the
not
thing
always
with the
for business, but in
here's the
most
thing
cases,
with the tax thing though is if you took all the money that existed in the U.S. and divided it by all the people, there's still not enough money.
So, no, I agree with that, and that's what you were going to say. You were like, "Hey, the problem is that's owned by all the wealthy people." So, take the wealthiest person in the world, in the United States, and divide it by all the adults. It's only $503 each. So, if you took every penny of his net worth, put him to zero, put him out of business, took everything he had, every adult would get $503.
The problem is that
You could do that to
wait a
all
second. So
five.
you're taking one person and
Take
taking
all of them.
theirs.
Take the top 500 billionaires, the wealthiest people in the country, and take all their money, which you shouldn't do. But if you did, it doesn't change anything for anybody. It's less than the last stimulus check everybody got.
it'd be a few $1,000s.
That's it. There's not enough money. So tax the rich doesn't work.
But even if you took all the money,
It does work.
No, it doesn't. There's
No, it
not
doesn't.
enough.
Yeah, it does.
No,
There's not enough.
It doesn't. It doesn't solve the problem.
That's $500.
You still have a problem where you have money that's depreciating in value every year. It's decreasing in value every year, and it's based on the wrong things. It's never going to work. It's a broken system. You have to base a large portion of the value of the currency on the population, on the people themselves and their basic needs. That's the only way to make money valuable enough to meet everyone's needs.
So
Otherwise,
where do you think the tax rate should be?
it doesn't matter. Like it's pretty high right now. The top taxpayers are paying about 48%. That's a lot. But it doesn't matter. Like, there's not enough money. That's not solving the problem. We're spending way more than any taxes could ever come in. We're spending more money than we actually have. So you have to change the value of the construct. And that's the only way to fix it. If we based a large portion of the value of the currency on each individual person in the society, as our society grows or fluctuates, the value of the money fluctuates too.
Mm-hmm. But is that also not making the assumption that the taxation comes before the money actually existing?
Well, your money would be more valuable. And with a system like that too, we could all agree as a society that we're going to cover all these basic needs for people, and not necessarily give them more money, but like if you make under a certain amount of money, maybe we double your salary. You don't make the company. That's why minimum wage things don't work, because minimum wage laws. If minimum wage jumps up to $15 an hour, business is always based on the bottom line. It's always based on margins. You have to have a certain
and
margin.
Consumer spending.
Well, yeah, but it's got to be. You have to have a certain margin to stay in business, or there's no point.
Who's going to raise their price?
So they'll raise their price based on the cost increase. So like when you
but not to the same amount, because studies have shown that consumer spending has a higher.
That's only for large
influence
corporations.
Oh yeah.
So you're going to put all the small corporations
How
out of
about
business.
so? What about instead of a across the board minimum wage $15 an hour or something, a tax incentive?
Well, so here's the thing.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't make any sense either, because the cost of living in New York is not the same as Randolph County. Mm-hmm. So you shouldn't have a minimum wage that's uniform, because every state's independent, different jurisdictions. There are places in the state like Greensboro and High Point that have an extremely high poverty rate. What is it, 20%?
21%.
21%. But then you got other places in this state where everyone is doing well, and the median income is $65,000 a year,
or $150,000,
or $150,000 a year. Like, I think that
like
your
carrier somewhere, yeah.
Cost of living has to be a deciding factor for minimum wage.
Well, it would be a tax would solve the problem, but not based on the current system. There's just not enough money, and there's not going to be unless we change it. So like if we change the currency,
not enough money in what way? Because like we were talking about earlier, most of the money that's in the economy isn't like physical. It's
businesses, it's all fake.
Yeah.
It's all a construct. But businesses are in business to make money,
because we spend the money into existence.
And capitalist system.
So it's not coming from taxes directly.
Capitalism,
the taxes come afterwards.
Capitalism, the idea of capitalism, has done a lot of good things.
I agree.
It does a lot of great. It's incentive. It makes things more productive. It encourages innovation and advancement. So it's a great thing, but it has to be regulated.
Yeah,
right.
It's got internal contradictions that lead to its own
in order
demise.
to have enough money to meet everyone's basic needs and to make our system as successful as possible, we have to change the value of the currency, so we'll have an abundance of currency. We have the technology to meet all the demands and the needs, but you want a system that still encourages growth and innovation and creativity and hard work, and you need incentives. So if you start taking away from people to give to other people,
that's
that
the
are less
Laffer.
fortunate.
That's the Laffer curve, and I think there was a Princeton study that recently showed that the Laffer curve for the highest marginal income tax rate is 70 to 73%.
Yeah, but you also, I think you also have to consider there are a lot of businesses that make a lot of money on high-end things too that cost a lot of money, and there's a market for that stuff. And you don't want that to go away either. That's still part of the growth of technology and society and just the advancement of the human race. So you still want those things to be available to people. And if we changed the way we look at the currency, people that do very well now would do even better. Mm-hmm. But people that are struggling now and in poverty would do great compared to where they are now. They would actually come out of poverty. We could bring people out of poverty. Now, you're still going to have older generations of people. I think we should
prioritize bringing people.
But
out
that's where the tax
over
thing comes in. Is if we have an abundance of currency, that's no longer an issue. Like we have an abundance of currency, we can all agree as a society that we need to raise the floor and whatever. And that's why we've revalued our money, or reevaluated the value of the money. Because if you say, okay, what does it cost today? What's the average cost of a human being's basic human needs throughout a lifetime today, and you figure that out and you add that into the equation of the value of the currency as a certain percentage of the value, and then you account for you account for inflation and the changes that money goes through over time based to offset that value. And then if population increases, the value of the currency will fluctuate with the population, and likely the population will actually decrease. All the data shows that as societies become more technologically advanced, more successful, populations decrease.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, like educating women
But-
makes them like not have as many babies at younger
Right.
ages, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also if you have
But the
if you're doing
higher
well,
tax rates on the highest income bracket makes it so that instead of them just sitting on this money and it just existing or not even
Actually, if you
existing,
raise
they
the
circulate
if
it.
you raise the tax rates, I'm gonna stop investing in this country, and I'm gonna go somewhere else. And I'm actually gonna move my operation. to
Well,
another
it
country.
You're
goes-
talking about capital flight. So
it
do you
goes
think
back-
that these people are going to give up their citizenship because of a higher tax rate?
100%. Some of them.
some people, yeah.
But here's the thing.
The thing is you're not with the current currency value.
Yeah.
There's not enough money. If someone's paying 48% of their income in taxes,
Mm-hmm.
well, the taxes aren't the solution. There's another problem, and I don't think you should limit people on. And when you're seeing these net worths, it's a net worth. It's not. They don't have $180 billion in cash.
Mm-hmm.
That's not liquid. That's just the value of all of their companies and everything that they own combined. So there's nothing. I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with having a too low of a floor. You have people that are starving to death,
Yeah.
and we don't have enough money in our society.
And so you're saying the solution to this inequality, instead of higher tax rates, is changing the value of our currency.
right, yeah.
So how do we?
Because we have the technology to meet all the demand.
Okay,
But if
so
100 years ago
how
you couldn't
does
do
that
that.
happen though? Is it through?
We all have to do it. We all have to agree in changing that social construct. It's
So
just
we-
like Bitcoin is nothing but data. It's blockchain, and it's just data. It's
Yeah.
information on the internet. But
we
we
all
all
have to-
agree that it's more valuable. So it's worth $60,000
Yeah.
a piece.
So we all have to agree.
Imagine
in
if the
that
dollar
every
was worth
business has
60
to lower its prices
No.
for. So
Well, yeah. So it
why
could
we
be
all
like
have to-
it would. Yes, it would work that way. We would have to agree that, and I've talked about maybe we could do it through blockchains to make it simpler. So like we could have like a medical blockchain. So everyone can buy, into this medical blockchain. It can only be used for medical, or maybe it's just we just divvy it out to people. And every month, every citizen gets a certain amount of this blockchain they can use for their medical expenses. And stuff like that. There's
Yeah.
ways to make it a more easy transition. But yes, they could just change the value, reevaluate the value of the dollar, and say, well, we're going to base a certain value or a certain portion of that value on individual needs, basic needs. And it's not giving the money to people, but people that make under a certain amount of money, we could all agree as a society that we'll double or triple their wages so they can have all these basic needs met.
Yeah.
Or we'll subsidize those basic needs with some type of blockchain technology. And the problem's only going to get worse if we don't make the change.
Mm-hmm.
So because these entry-level jobs are all going to be replaced, and they're all going to be autonomous.
Oh yeah.
Within a couple decades for
Yeah.
sure. So-
Unless there's some sort of collective bargaining rights and.
which is still is non-productive. It's still going the wrong direction. Like why impede progress and advancement when you can just change the structure of the construct? And then 86% of Americans hate what they do anyway.
Yeah.
So if some of these shitty jobs can be replaced and be made autonomous, and the people that used to have to do those jobs can either do something else and still make a strong living and maybe do things they want to do, it's a healthier society.
Yeah, I agree that there's a lot of bullshit jobs that,
Right.
and then if people hate their jobs, if they have some form of workers' self-management, are they going to hate their jobs as much, or are they going to want to keep that job around if they have another option?
Well, sometimes
Like
if you
what-
just increase the incentive, people won't hate the job as much either. Like if
Yeah.
a lot of the times you have a shitty job and you get shitty pay, so then at the end of the week you're just making enough to make it to the next week.
Yeah,
so-
so higher wages.
So higher wages at the end of the week, maybe you hated the job, but man, I got paid really good. I have a decent place to live. I've got all my needs. I'm pretty happy about it.
and some level
know.
of self-management where
Right.
like you can
yeah.
So,
so union rights and that kind of stuff.
Sort of, but not a union. It's a collective agreement
Mm-hmm.
from the society itself. We all agree that this is the best way to deal with this issue, and at the same time, it doesn't hurt the people that are really ambitious and pushing hard, because there's such an abundance. They're still doing they're doing better than they would do now. Like greatly. I mean, just 10 times better, maybe, or maybe more than that.
Depends on how much we decide to raise the value of our currency by. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But why not raise it to what it needs to be? If you're basing it on the basic human needs, it's going to increase in value with time anyway, because it's actually going to it's going to have a reverse. It would have a reverse impact on inflation. Actually, inflation would actually cause the money to increase in value. So you wouldn't really have inflation. No. Inflation is kind of a weird thing anyway.
Oh, it's completely.
It doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
It's like what? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of.
They tell us inflation is what happens when they print more money, but in like, fucking what was that? Yep, 2008 they printed like $5 trillion, and there was
they did
next to
$2
no
trillion
inflation.
this year.
Yeah.
So if we took the wealthiest, they say the Fortune 500, the top wealthiest 500 people in the country, right? So basically all billionaires. You took every penny of their net worth and you divided up amongst every adult in the United States. It's only $8,700 each, $8,767. Right, so this is what I'm saying. There's not enough money.
There's not enough money.
If you took all the cash in the United States in circulation, like real money, not ones and zeros, and split it up, it's not enough money, right? It's just not enough.
So we need stronger economic growth to have more.
I don't know what the solution is.
In the current situation,
that would come about through economic growth.
Right, through business growth and stuff. But it's not. It's not going to be enough. It's never going to be enough.
I don't think the way we do it. Taxing can't be a solution because no amount of tax. If we put the tax to 100%, it still doesn't matter.
It
just stifles
taking it to 100 because that's over the ladder.
No. Some people are saying in the 70s. Some people are saying 50. But what you got to realize is
70s would really.
But also, if you look at most really successful entrepreneurs, they invest 90% of what they make back into their companies.
Because they're trying to avoid the.
No, because that's what they do.
No, yeah.
Like I reinvest 90% of what I make into business.
Yeah, I live on a fraction of what I make. I reinvest the lion's share.
Because people that do those types of things, that's what they do. They just create. They're just constantly trying to create new things.
A lot of them also are being the Jeff Bezos isn't just hoarding as much money.
But Jeff Bezos isn't just hoarding money. All that's net worth. That's the evaluation of all of his businesses and everything that he has interest in.
Businesses and his assets and everything.
It's mostly things that are making
so
more
the only
money.
way you'd get the money out of the asset. So let's say you tax
You'd have to sell everything.
He'd have to sell everything. So literally the government would take his belongings, it'd take his businesses to create a tax, right? Let's say we tax his net worth.
But even then, it's still not money. It's not.
You'd have to sell things, right? So you would literally be taking his property.
And you're still just trading.
But then you're cycling it back out to people, and then the capitalistic society. I think if we took all the money in the world and divided equally across everybody, the people with the money would probably end up back with money again.
Well, that's true.
Because some people are
still
consumers.
Wouldn't be enough money, though.
There's still not enough money, I agree. But some people are consumers. Some people are hustlers.
If you took all the money in the world and divided it amongst all the people in the world, there'd be very little money.
Yeah, but there's also a good amount of hustlers that are being discouraged by the fact that they can't necessarily invest.
I don't know any, man. I've got partners out the ass. None of them came from money. Every one of them's got a hustle story. If you're a hustler, you're going to find your way to the top. I look for hustlers every day. I partner with them all the time.
Well, you look at income mobility over the past 20 to 30 years. A lot of it.
There's less opportunity. For sure today.
There's a lot less opportunity. That's what we find
that's what I'm
with
talking about with
basic income.
Dude, man,
I'll go have that.
We'll go to Walmart after we leave here. I'll go buy a case of water for $4.99. We'll go sit at any intersection and hustle waters on a hot day and hustle waters for $1 a thing. I'm going to take $4.99. I'm going to turn it into $24, 24 pack of water. I'm going to turn it to $24, and I can do that a couple of times an hour, literally. And I can start turning a couple $100 a day off of $4 a day. I about guarantee you we should do a social study.
But you're not a normal person.
I'm not a normal person. But what I'm saying is I bet you I could go out on the street. It would take me several hours, and I could find enough change to buy the water. So start with $0. Go find money that's on the ground. Go to Walmart, buy a case of water. Go sit in an intersection, sell a case of water. I bet you I could take that money and turn it into a 6-figure business in 60 days. But and the information is there. All the technology, internet's almost everybody, all the books. positivity, information. I mean, like all this stuff is learnable things. It's not nobody.
Yeah, learnable things, but not a lot of people have either time or they don't think it's possible.
But that's business too, so that's the way your mind is wired.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I'm just saying everybody has the opportunity
Some people
to do
are just
it.
creative.
Not
just
everyone
artists.
has the opportunity to do it, though.
I don't see how.
Well, not everybody has the capacity to do it.
If you can't read,
It's not even the capacity. Not a lot of people have the opportunity, or they're not told that they have the opportunity. They're discouraged from the moment
I
they're
agree.
born into a poor house.
Oh, I agree with that. We're all your family's the one that's
I
going
was
to put you
poor.
in a box.
I grew up poor, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
but I mean,
oh yeah, I'm not saying it's
but,
like no.
But there, a
poor
lot of
grow
people in
up
those
to be rich,
situations
but-
don't ever get out of that.
Yeah.
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 No. So
And
then
that's what happens when like you provide people with like a basic income. A lot of studies show that people do have.
I don't
more.
think just a basic income.
Oh, we're gonna
solves the
need more
problem.
than a basic income.
I think
yeah.
it's. I think you provide incentive for people to do, and that will, just like the janitor thing. Like it's not a job that anybody wants, but if you make a good living at it, people will want to do it. You know, if you're out working a terrible job, 40 hours a week plus maybe 60 hours a week, just enough to help you sustain that terrible job, and maybe not even enough to eat a balance. I mean, you're probably just barely eating anyway and paying your rent or whatever. There's no.
So is the
no
incentive though under? So the incentive though is having rewarding work.
Not necessarily.
I guess it depends on who
no,
you're
no.
asking.
It depends on
if there's enough financial incentive, it can outweigh the shitty job. But if it's a shitty job with shitty pay, then it's just a shit deal. You know.
Yeah.
Which is how like a lot of people are. I mean,
Most
I forgot
jobs.
what the percentage is. It's like the
80,
majority of the country is living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
and 86% hate their job or something like that,
Yeah.
right?
About 86.
So
yeah.
hey, here's-
Prior to COVID, I think it was like 50% of
worse
people
now
had
for
less
sure.
than $400 in the bank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for me the problem is I don't feel like taxing it because, like you just said, people aren't aware of the opportunity, right? Well, if you're a parent out there, then your job needs to be to start to educate yourself and educate your kids. If the government can give people money, why can't the government give people self-help books and access to the information, right?
That's essentially how the money is treated, though.
Well, it's not that way, though, because I got a lot of people when I was growing up that got the money and they sold their food stamps for 50 cents on the dollar to get cash to go buy drugs with, right? So, like, that's not the way the money works.
But that still goes back to a lack of incentive and a lack of opportunity. And
You know,
also,
that's
you can't.
That's true in cases,
you
but
can't-
only
I donate
by
stuff.
studies where there have been basic income. It's been ultimately good, and people use the money to grow.
That is
like
true.
there
There have
was
been some
another
studies that have showed it.
Yeah, and there was a study where they took, I think it was like 9
But the
or 10
problem is-
homeless people, and they gave them like a certain amount of money like throughout the year, and by the end of the year, a huge majority of them like had a job or they had,
Yeah.
you know, a roof.
Homelessness is a different issue.
Yeah, there's a
altogether.
mental health issue there, too, but I agree,
Yeah.
But with
typically.
and with basic income, there's just not enough money to make that work efficiently. Because if you implement,
We can always print more money though. is the
well, but
thing.
it's still the wrong. It's the structure of the money, the way it works with inflation. Because when you're printing more of it, you're dividing it further.
Do you think everybody should get a trophy?
Everybody should get
Well,
a trophy.
I don't
Like
think
if you
I don't
compete in a
thi- I don't
sport,
see
should
how
there be a
that's-
winner and a loser, or
I
like if we're
don't-
competing
wait a
at
second.
something?
I don't
can you-
think there has to be losers in society.
No, but I'm asking, like in general, like if you're when you played video games, should you win every single time you play, no matter what?
No.
So there has to be a consequence to poor decisions. And in the business world,
Should that consequence be inability
I
to
th-
feed yourself?
I think the right
it is,
analogy. I
even
think
for rich people.
It is, and look at where our society is right now.
No, I mean, but it is. But rich people make the same. I lost every single thing I had, literally everything, plus $2 million in negative. And I had to move into my parents' garage for 18 months, right? So I mean, I started over. I had the same consequence. Actually, I had more to risk than somebody that had nothing because I had something to risk.
You're an outlier,
A parent's
though.
garage.
But
that
you'd have
you
a parent's
could-
garage.
Not to minimize
Yeah.
having to go through that, but like,
I mean, I could have lived in a car. It wouldn't have mattered to me.
But you did have a place to go.
Yeah,
And
but
a
I
lot-
could have lived on the street. Same thing. I
But
mean,
a
like,
lot of people don't have the place to go. But I think the better analogy is: do you want your kid to go to the gymnastic school where they have a concrete floor, or the one where they have mats? Because they're gonna fall.
yeah. Right now, we don't even
And
have
you-
a concrete floor. We have a bunch of spikes that are
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
put there by a bunch
So I
of like
think- I
right-wing
think-
politicians.
We can fix that problem, but we can't fix it with the current system.
yeah.
It's just that you can't. You just can't do it. You'll destroy productivity. I mean, we saw it with Marxism and any social, like completely socialist society, it fails because you
It
you're still
depends
dealing
on
with the
how
same
you
problem.
define the socialism.
Any socialist experiments been done in the past.
Communist, like Marxist.
Both communism or
Yeah.
socialism, they both
Yeah.
lead
Well,
to the
because
same problems.
socialism, I mean, there are lots of different types of socialism. And first of all, I want to be clear about Bernie Sanders and AOC. These aren't socialists, at least not their policies. That it's social democracy, and I think that's a distinction.
AOC's she's crosses over into socialism for sure. Bernie, I think
I
Bernie
don't
is
think
more
so.
of a lot of his ideologies are very just kind of straight socialism too.
But which ones?
I think, like he had said something about this certain tax increase for people like Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, and it was completely impossible.
But that's another example of something being social democratic.
But it's still,
taxes exist in other countries that aren't socialist.
I mean, his tax idea would have bankrupted both of those people completely. It had an exponential factor to it. It would actually eventually just wipe them out. And it wasn't reasonable. Like it was requiring more taxes than they actually have in liquid capital.
Well, let me specify.
But regardless of that,
mean.
I think he means well, and I think his ideologies are in the right direction. He cares about raising the floor in society.
Yeah.
But he's still dealing with a broken structure. Like it just can't work that way, because if you raise the taxes to 70% of the top 1%, it's going to affect the growth of the society. It's going to stifle the growth, and it's going to slow down productivity and innovation and incentive.
That's what I just said. The Laffer curve tops at like 73%.
But
So I don't agree with that though, because I know
don't
people.
either.
I know
Yeah.
people that move from states to go from 5% tax to 0. I know
We're
big
talking about the
corporations.
top margin.
But also the majority of that tax money is not going in the pockets of those people that own those companies either. It's going into more business. So that's where there's a big misunderstanding that they're not pocketing that money. That's not money. It's net worth. The more they invest, the more their value goes up.
Yeah.
But people like Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, they're not doing what they do for the money anyway. They're doing it because they want to create these mega things that are it's just what they do. Like Amazon started out as a book company that sold books online in the 90s.
Holy shit, that's crazy to think about.
Yeah, so he's just a creator. All he's doing is creating, and now he's bringing in people that know how to do stuff that he wants to do, and they're doing it. And they're creating. I think ultimately these are good things, good technologies. We don't want to create a system that stops that. We just want to create a system that allows other people to keep growing as well.
Yeah, if
and
he's
do
going
better.
to like invest in his company, should the government not direct that in the way of saying like, hey, if you're going to invest in your company, you have to pay your workers a fair wage. You have to.
Well, that's why if we change the structure of the social structure of the society, that will fix that problem.
Which is really.
And I think
how
Amazon
Karl
pays
Marx
their
started.
employees pretty well anyway, comparatively.
Well, I didn't hear that.
I think Amazon pays their employees fairly well comparatively anyway.
Because they were forced to by, essentially they were forced to by Bernie Sanders and Ro Khanna trying to raise their taxes. The Stop Bezos Act in, I think that was 2019.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
And also, I think that just the paying them higher wages alone doesn't really outweigh the fact that like their bathroom breaks are like you should like look at
I know
some of the
how
stuff
it
that
works
they're talking
for
about.
them.
And I think that if he's got $1 trillion company and he's not letting his workers even in one I said chapter. I don't know what the one branch unionize. I think that.
Well, you look at
you don't have your employees.
Well, if he does unionize, he knows prices are going to go up on the products because the shipping costs will go up. All the expense. So when you have a retail business, you have a product, and the cost of that product is the price that was paid to purchase the product from the manufacturer. It's also the cost of your employees that go into the cost of that product. You know how much it's handled, or you know how much. Employee.
You have to account for every
all the
person
wages
that
go
touches
into touching that product and the process, the sales process.
Yeah.
what it costs to have the website that you sell it on, whatever tiny percentage that goes into that product. But all those things, all those expenses are accounted for in the prices of your products. So if any of those expenses go up, and especially companies like Amazon, which run on a really small margin, all the product prices are going to increase because they'll have to, because it has to be paid for, and there still has to be a margin.
But not to the point where the higher wages are like completely no.
I don't know. Dude. I don't know.
Because
if you're at McDonald's, you have enough volume to spread it out across.
Yeah.
And so Amazon has volume.
Well, consumer spending, like I said, has a higher influence on a company's bottom line above a certain size.
Yeah.
Than
but it's still going to increase
wages,
prices, and it's still going to impact the economy, the society.
If the costs go up for the business,
but at what level is it going to?
That's a good question.
Up?
But if the costs go up for the business, the price has to go up.
Right.
Or
there's no
like
point.
I can tell you exactly what it costs.
The margin gets too small. There's no.
Yeah,
incentive.
you switch to a different business. And we've had that happen. But like we'll have a widget, whatever it is from China, and like this, this widget from China is 13 cents. But by the time I ship it here and get it here, and then the time I have my people put it together, I've got 4 guys that are back there, and they're putting the widget together, and then it takes on average 3.5 hours. You take their 4 salaries times 3.5. You get that. You get, okay, what about the power to the building? We have to fractionalize that. So we break it down we do it per minute in a month. Break it down all the way. Break down the water that's used. Break down every single thing. Sarah Lee, by the way, in Randolph County used to spend over $300,000 a month on their water bill, which was when they were washing the fabrics. So like they have this fabric, this product, but before it can go out and be packaged, they had to wash it, and their water bill a month was over $300,000 to the local water company, right? So like you have all these things that factor in. That's the total cost to produce the good, and if the total cost to produce the good goes up, your price that you're selling it for has to go up as well.
So do you think that tax relief for small businesses, like creating a tax incentive to pay them a higher wage?
Well, I think you have to have both.
I think natural selection causes you to pay more people. Like if you have if you have a company, right, and you don't pay appropriately, you're going to lose those people to your competition.
It still doesn't have to be that way. Here's my problem.
That's the way it is now.
Well, yeah, that's how it is now.
If we underpay an employee, that's a real quality employee.
They're going to leave.
They're going to leave, and somebody else is gladly going to pay them more. I mean, it happens in real life now.
That's true. But unfortunately, there's some people in society that just
they don't have the option to.
They don't have the capacity to do something like that.
Because that's what puts food on their table.
But also.
Which
the increasing tax to match these higher minimum wages is the same. It's the same spiral. It's like running on a treadmill, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe a long treadmill. So you're getting it. Maybe you're moving forward slightly. Maybe. But if we just change the construct, and there's plenty of money, because eventually these Amazon jobs are going away too. I mean, there's some Amazon factory or warehouses are almost fully autonomous. And I would say in 10 years, a lot of these, most of these jobs will be autonomous by then. They'll be controlled by machines. And then you'll just have people that their only job is just watching these machines do stuff. Or maybe they have to do something else. Or maybe, like Andrew Yang's fear is that, with this exponential growth in technology, sure, technology has replaced jobs in the past, but not at this rate. It could be such an exponential rate that there's no entry-level jobs. It's all technology that's running everything. So you have to find a way to subsidize these people and give them something to do, or at least we have to find a way to meet their needs. And I think at that level, that's when I think we have to make a change before it reaches that level. But it's still not going to be the tax thing is the solution. It's not. There's not enough money. You have to create a different option. And really, I mean, honestly, you don't even need money, but you need some way to incentivize people. And I think the Jetsons is a good example. Like George Jetson's job was to push a red button. Yeah,
and he worked 5 or 10 hours a week or something.
Yeah, and he was kind of an idiot, but he made a decent living. He had, he was a middle class guy, and his family had all their needs. That's basically that's a good construct.
That's how
it could be that way.
In a Keynesian America, that's how we viewed what the future was going to be like.
But it won't work with our current structure of money. It just can't work that way.
I just wonder how you because you'd end up decentivizing people. I don't know what the solution. My answer is I don't know what the solution
Well,
is. I wish
think there's going to be the majority of the population that wants to do something.
Yeah.
I think you'll probably have 20% of people that are kind of like they just want to just coast through life and
there are some people that want to do that, but I think that the idea that is the majority is very misleading.
Yeah,
I think that
so.
it also comes back to how people view human nature.
Well, think about it this way.
Like that's whenever people talk about that, like, oh well, people are just gonna. You know, it's interesting with. I mean, going back to the basic income argument, when you ask like, oh, what are people gonna do with like what are you going to do with a basic income? They'll say like, oh well, you know, I've got like I want to be able to start this business, or you know, I've got like I want to be able to do this and that and the other thing, and they talk about things that you know they want to do. They're not just going to sit around on the couch. But if you ask them what are other people going to do, they'll say, oh well, you know, humankind, people are lazy, they're just going to sit on the couch and stuff. But like,
do you know what people did with their stimulus checks, by and large?
Well, most people will spend their money.
They spend it all of it.
Yeah,
that's not necessarily bad. That's
I'm just we're talking
thing.
about
no,
an economic
but what I'm
system
saying
that's
is
supposed to incentivize spending.
They're consumers. This is the problem. They have a fundamental issue, right?
So they're naturally just consumers that won't create.
They've got to stop being consumers. You want to get wealthy, you have to stop being a consumer.
How does one stop being a consumer?
I don't. You just have just enough.
We're consumers. These are all things.
Well, yeah, but I didn't do any of these things when I was trying to make it. I lived on ramen noodles. I consumed as little as possible. I lived like nobody else would. I worked all the time, 3 jobs. I sacrificed. I didn't go on vacations. I didn't have DirecTV. I didn't have internet. I didn't have none of those things, right? And I did that for a decade. And houses I lived in, like I didn't hang stuff on the walls because I didn't want to repair the nail holes. Like, so I think I had to do something really extreme that most people won't do.
Yeah, but you are extreme, though.
So do you think people
You're
should have to go
disciplined.
through that?
I don't think everybody can. I
don't know. I mean,
exactly
I don't think. What's your goal, though?
But everybody can't be you.
No, I agree. But what's the goal? Should everybody have $5,000 a month? Should they have $500,000?
Well, no, I think in this scenario we're talking about a society where all the entry level jobs are AI. Mm-hmm. So there's no
because that's where it does get really
we know a lot of people that their entry level job.
I know people like what you're describing that haven't had opportunity. Mm-hmm. But by and large, most of the people I meet are lazy.
Yeah, but this is
they don't want to work. The first time that they have to work and it's inconvenient for them, like they miss a friend's party.
Well, lazy to you.
Lazy to me. The first time that they got to miss a friend's birthday party or a this or a that, right? They look for reasons not to work. But instead, where they could step up their effort and earn more money that way and
do you think a shorter work week would help with that?
Maybe. There have been some studies that show that
I don't know.
People are more productive.
John Maynard Keynes thought that by 2030 we'd have a 15-hour work week.
He's a pretty sharp guy,
yeah.
too.
Yeah. He was the most influential economist of the 20th century.
I think we are what we focus on. And if you're trying to find reasons not to work and not to be productive, like
you say we are what we focus on. So you're saying that if we focus on the laziness, then people are going to be lazy?
Well,
no, I'm saying
as opposed to focusing on.
I'm saying if I focus all of my energy into being successful and positive and sacrificing and practicing delayed gratification, that will come to fruition. Yeah, I've seen it happen over and over and over again. If I focus my energy on how do I do the least amount of work, how do I get by, like, because I know people personally in my family, I know people that are friends that have said they don't have the aspiration, they don't want to sacrifice. Mm-hmm. They're perfectly fine. I know people that are part-time employees by choice. They do not want to be full-time. We have people like that.
Yeah, but I'm fine with that. I think
I'm fine with it too.
Yeah, exactly.
But that person shouldn't live the lifestyle that I live.
Well, no, I don't think so either. But I don't think
there should be.
But they should have a decent life.
No, I agree with that. I don't think anybody in America should be starving. I agree.
I think you should do as good as you want to do, but if you're at the bottom, it's not too bad.
No, I agree with that.
And I think
so. How do we get to that? I have no clue.
But I think most people want to do something. I think most people have a desire to create because it's what we do.
Definitely.
We all came out. We were all primates.
Even if it's not something that has monetary value. Some people are they want to be an artist of some sort. Yeah. Even if it's not like something they're selling.
But if they have the ability to just do that, they might get really good at it.
Yeah.
You know, if that's what they desire to do with their time.
Like, what's her name that wrote To Kill a Mockingbird? Harper Lee, is that the name? Yeah, she her family or her friends or something said we're gonna pay you like this amount of money for like the next year of your life. Like we're like I should probably know more of the details before I actually talk about it. But basically what happened was she wrote To Kill a Mockingbird in that time because she didn't have to worry about her 9 to 5. She didn't have to.
She's exceptionally talented, though. She's
Yeah.
also an outlier.
Yeah, but how many people is that also true, but we don't know it's true?
I would
because
say
they
there's
don't.
probably a lot of people. Well, so in poor communities,
You're an optimist, by the way. You think the best of everyone.
I'm
So,
I
would you at
don't-
least be
we're
willing to
not
acknowledge that there are
angels.
definitely people that are lazy and that don't want to work?
there are definitely people that are lazy and,
And-
don't want to work.
Right,
And
that's the problem. I don't
I
think
think
there's
they're a
one or the other.
minority, though.
There is, but yeah, there
Yeah.
are people that are lazy and don't want to work. But I don't think it's a majority of people.
I think it's
At
5%
least not
of
if
the
they had.
population.
Yeah, I think at least not if they had, enough money to be able to.
You
get
probably
by.
have like
And you know what?
75%
Actually,
of.
I think that if this past year has shown anything, it's people don't want to just sit back and do
No,
nothing.
it hasn't. I'm an employer. I can tell you I disagree with that completely.
So
I had people
the quarantine.
I had people that got mad that we didn't fire them. They did not want to work. I'm talking about hundreds did not want to work.
Mm-hmm.
They would rather me fire them so they could draw unemployment because they could make almost the same amount of money and not work.
But that's part of the entry level.
Yeah,
problem.
and that's
It
also
is.
because it's mean tested.
But I
and
think
the fact
if-
that
if-
like
if-
to get unemployment, you don't have to have a job.
But I
Whereas
think
if
that's-
it's a UBI,
No, I'm just
it's
saying though
that-
it had a negative effect. I
Yeah.
still to this day, if we place a job ad right now, what used to have 50 people apply, we're lucky if we have 3 people.
No, I
apply.
agree with what you're saying because you're
You've
eliminating
discouraged.
incentive.
You've discouraged
That's-
people from working. So I disagree
The
completely.
money should the subsidy.
if
the
you had to work
because
to
you
get it,
have
that's
to
fine.
not work.
Right.
I agree.
Because
Yes.
you have to not
Right.
work to
I'm
get
fine with that.
unemployment.
I would have
Yeah,
been
there
much
are
better
some
with that, yeah.
Perverse incentives, and that's one of the things that's something like a
if you want a
would-
UBI, it has to be an incentive that comes to people for their labors. So it has to be based on what people make, and adding to that. So like if you wanted to do like a UBI in our current society, it'd be hard to do because there's just not enough money in our society. But if we change the value of the money,
Yeah.
you could do a UBI and it would say like if you make a certain amount of money, we're going to add this much to it, this percentage to your income as a society, so you'll receive that. So on your paycheck,
So then
you would
it-
get your paycheck amount, and then you would get your incentive, and that would. So then you're still working and
so
you're still
it wouldn't
earning a
be
living.
universal set amount for everyone.
No, it would.
So
it would
if
vary
we're
based
at
on
the,
income. So you could say
so
like
if we're
you,
at the point where people are automated, how will we determine how much that person should get under that system?
No, that's different. That may be an issue because, say that in 20 years, most jobs are replaced with AI because
Yeah.
they're replacing attorney jobs now with AI.
Oh
you know.
yeah.
So
I think I forgot. It's probably sped up now, but I think in like 2019, the study showed that like 30% of jobs would be gone by 2030.
a lot. Yeah, and a lot of
Yeah.
truck drivers are going to lose their jobs. and
Truck
stuff.
drivers are going to be the next big one.
Uber-
too,
Uber-
along
Uber
with, like,
drivers.
Uber
retail
drivers
right
for
now,
sure.
Yeah.
That'll be probably less than 10 years.
Yeah.
So
And
it's going
especially
to it's
not
going
only
to
does
be
that
a
get rid
lot.
of the truck
It's-
drivers, it also gets rid of the diners and the motels and all the stuff that they take along
Yeah.
the way.
Yep.
So if that happens, then we have to definitely make a change, and maybe, maybe a lot of people just make money just to be a part of the society. I mean, there will be something for people to do because it's still
I think if anything else, this conversation shows that there's definitely a problem coming.
yes, yeah,
There's
Yeah.
a problem right
Oh,
now. It's getting
definitely.
worse.
and it's
Yeah.
coming fast.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So
And especially like because what to go back to what I said about like people being lazy. I think that what all of this, if people were lazy and didn't want to do anything, there wouldn't be as much enthusiasm behind like opening things up and all of this. People want to be doing things.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean I want to start businesses.
Well, I think what he was saying too during the quarantine is yes, like there was an anti-incentive to work. But at the same time, people were doing things they wanted to do. Like a lot of people were picking up
Yeah.
instruments and
The number of
paintbrushes.
the number of
Writing-
screenplays
writing.
that were probably being written. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of
And also-
creativity.
and
They were also
people-
finding creative ways to kill themselves and all kinds of other stuff.
There's a lot of bad
suicide-
too, yeah.
Well, yeah, but like, and that's a part of because they didn't have anything to do.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So-
I think
And they couldn't, pay bills and all that.
the first step is trying to find ways to incentivize lower level jobs where it doesn't put all the burden on one company. or on these, especially small businesses.
Yeah.
But I still think the only way to fix that is to fix the currency problem. But then beyond that is when it starts to replace all the entry-level jobs are replaced and most of the mid-level jobs are replaced, then you've got a real problem, because then you're looking at like 90% of the population, they don't have jobs or opportunities. There will be something, and I think most of it will be in the field, on the art side somehow, like in the creative side.
Yuval, I mentioned him earlier. I don't know if that
Yuval
was
Harari.
Yuval Harari.
Yeah.
I don't know if that made it onto the.
That's in the deleted tapes.
Yeah. You guys, if you thought what we're thinking about now is deep and intellectual, you should have heard what we were talking about.
Right. Yeah.
Man, I think but I was about to go into some bit. But he talks about how each century is basically defined by something. You know, you got the 19th century, you know, the century of revolutions. You got the 20th century, that problem was exploitation, you know, like things that were coming over, you know, it's obvious what I'm talking about. Yeah. And he said for the 21st century, it's irrelevancy. Because if we are just cogs in this, you know, capitalist machine and automation is coming, a lot of these people are just going to be essentially irrelevant, especially if they're not making money. They're not going to be able to be consumers.
But my hope is that, like the Steven Pinker book, Enlightenment Now, as the data shows that
that's a book that really changed the way I view a lot of things.
And I think a lot of the negative perspectives we have today are just based on our access to information. We can see so many bad things at once. Yeah. But I think if the data trend continues, as societies become more advanced and more technological and more sustainable, they also become better overall. So I think we'll figure it out, or even maybe our technology figures it out.
Yeah, and it's also to go back, like in a similar vein, we talked about how capitalism has created a lot of good.
Sure.
There is a Karl Marx quote where he talks about like capitalism created things that were better than the pyramids. I don't remember the exact quote. I should probably memorize it because it's really cool. But capitalism has created good. It's also created bad.
Oh yeah.
And so if you look at economic theories over time and the fact that, you know, we had slavery, we had feudalism, we evolved, you have the thesis, the antithesis, and the synthesis. So you have the thesis, which is capitalism, and this is like theoretically the way I'm saying it, is the thesis is capitalism. The antithesis would be socialism or communism. So then the synthesis, which would be the solution, would have to be a sort of blending of both. Yeah, social democracy, essentially.
And also, I think we have to consider that we're primates. You know, and technology is so Homo sapiens have been around for about 300,000 years plus, over 300,000 years for sure. Yeah. And only in the past few thousand years have we really started doing some really incredible things.
Yeah.
So, and now the growth is just, it's unimaginable, like the technological growth we're experiencing right now that we're a part of. And so we still have these, we still have this real tribal nature about ourselves, and we're all afraid that somebody's trying to take our shit, and we're gonna, you know, we have to protect our food and all. And I think that's changing. So I think as we start to,
people are seeing that those because a lot of the people are coming after our shit. People are telling us that people are coming after our shit.
And politicians are a big part of this too. And politicians concern me. If you look at
if you're gonna tax me at 75%, I'd kind of say you're coming after my shit.
73. Let's
73. But
unless we just increase the value of your shit.
Yeah, but I guess we were talking earlier about like things. What if I like to collect acorns? And I had over like the next like
you're probably missing a few.
Are you coming out as a squirrel right now?
Yeah, I'm coming out as a squirrel, and I like to collect acorns. I call them nuts. I keep them in my sack, and I like
which sack?
Yes, a big sack that I carry around. But and apparently acorns are really, 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 really scarce now in this hypothetical dream I'm talking about, right? But then, and they're not worth anything. They're only worth something to me, right? But then for some reason, someone else decides that they have a value and they want them, and they realize they can't find them. And now they say that, you know what, my acorns are worth $1 million each, and I've got 1,000 of them. And then the government comes in and says, hey, you've got all the acorns, right? We want some of them. We're going to tax you at boom, we're taking half your acorns from you. We're going to give them out to everybody else. Like, I have a problem with that. Right? That's my issue. Like,
Well, it's because you
Well,
have a
dude, like
limited
money-
supply of acorns.
cash.
Yeah,
Well,
and
but I'm
also-
saying cash is
There's not enough
fake.
acorns.
Fa- Cash is an exchange. It's something. It's a currency of exchange, but it's something that we go out in the world and we exchange. Most people exchange dollars for hours.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And they get this green stuff, which represents that
Which
amount
is
of.
also a very perverse incentive.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree, but I'm saying so. I go out and every time. So like when I buy something, let's say I buy this Bang energy drink. When I was making minimum wage, this was my thought process. This energy drink at that time would have ran me about 1 hour after taxes. It would take me 1 hour. So is this energy drink worth buying? And my answer at that point would have been no. Right? So I'm delaying gratification. It's not worth. I don't want to work an hour at Hardee's or Napoli's Pizza or wherever I was at to buy this energy drink. Right? So like I had to make these types of decisions. Right? But all money is an exchange. It's like a measure of value of time. Right? We've built up. But so think about cryptocurrency. Oh, it's magically worth something. If something that I'm passionate about for 20 years and that I collect, right, that I've earned, that I've already paid tax on, I've already done everything I'm supposed to. Now it's mine. I've collected this thing because that's what I'm passionate about. Maybe you like to collect trumpets. My thing just happened to be more
Did
valuable.
you tell him about my
Yes.
trumpet collection?
I
Yes,
did, man.
yes. He said you could blow a horn for sure.
I can blow a lot of horns.
But
At
you know,
once.
that's where I get in the
At
problem
once.
with taxing.
It's a very good talent. I actually might do it if comedy doesn't work out.
I think you should.
You should do it with it. Yeah, do it both.
with the comedy.
Yeah.
With the comedy. But like taking my, I don't know, and it's like a terrible example, but how do you come take something that's mine, right? I don't like that to give to other people. Like I think if you do too much of that, you end up with a civil war again. You're going to get people that have things fighting people that don't because
Well,
my phone.
oh,
That was the sound of him dropping some hard knowledge on all of us.
yeah.
No,
A
I
part,
mean
a part of the problem is that we have this mentality about somebody stealing your acorns, but we have an abundance of acorns, and that's the problem. Like we don't have to have that mentality anymore.
I don't think we have abundance of acorns.
No, we do.
You just said we don't have enough cash, so we don't have an abundance.
That's what I
of
mean.
acorns.
Well, we can.
no, we can.
Yeah.
We,
can,
don't.
We can
Yeah.
choose to,
But-
because we have
Yeah.
because we now have the resources to meet the needs of the acorns.
Yeah.
We can all use the acorns, but also we need to keep in mind too that people have way too much faith in our government.
Yeah.
You know, that's one thing that scares me is that we're supposed to be a democratic republic where all the people are the
Barely.
society that we
Anymore,
are
yeah.
the government, and then these people are our representatives. But if you look through history, the worst human beings that have ever existed were politicians. They were kings and rulers and politicians and presidents and
Because because that's the amount of power you have to have
because
in order to be an
that's
evil
also
person,
the
really.
type of people that want to be in those positions. They're sociopaths are attracted to those types of roles.
Yeah.
And so we have to be aware of that too and be really cautious about how much power they get because they also need to be kept in check because they're just like us. They're just part of the society.
Yeah.
We all have to work together but you still have a lot of people that like that power. They like to have a limited amount of money because it gives them more power over other people. There's something about certain people that get off on people being in poverty and being less affluent or less.
I think there's truth to that, but if we're looking at the politicians that we can apply that to, that are all in for themselves and everything, like I can't believe this is the first time we've said Donald Trump's name on this podcast. We've been recording for 8 hours.
7 hours of lost footage.
Yeah,
Right.
but he and the Republican-controlled Senate and House passed a tax bill that was a huge tax giveaway, which, by the way, was also when his approval rating was at its lowest prior to the Capitol attacks, was after that tax bill was passed.
But these Republican Democrat things are just distractions. They're nonsense. They don't lead anywhere. They lead to the same place. All they're doing
for the
is
most part. I do think there is a difference, though.
they're trading ideologies that lead to the same thing. And maybe as a whole, maybe things are getting a little better in some areas,
Yeah.
but not. It doesn't. It's still the same broken system.
Well, my point for hope that I try to bring up to people when we are talking about like hope for the political system and how, you know, they're all corrupt and everything. In like 2016, 2017, there were only 4 members of Congress that didn't take super PAC money. Now it's over 45. And it's growing because a lot of people that ran in 2020 in, you know, Senate races and races for the House of Representatives were people that were running for the first time because they were.
Well, I think the hope for politics is the younger generations, like people in my generation.
It is.
I'm Gen X, or like your generation.
Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of I volunteer with this organization called Humanity Forward that had a lot of
that's
it was started by
Andrew
Andrew
Yang.
yeah, that had a lot of candidates that were coming up that really, like, I each of them I looked into what they were focused on. One's like David Kim, Blair Walsingham, and they didn't end up winning, but that was also because they were first time candidates, and rarely does that happen. Is that a first time candidate like wins?
Yeah.
You know, so I think that next time.
I think maybe the solution to sorry to interrupt you, man. Go ahead.
I've interrupted so many times on this podcast. You go ahead.
I'm actually enjoying it over here.
No, you were saying.
I need some popcorn.
Yeah. Well, I think that looking at groups like Justice Democrats and like Humanity Forward and Represent.us are talking about the divide between us and these people in the government and like the lobbyists and everything, and because they're refusing super PAC money, which I feel like to most people doesn't sound like that big a deal because it's just like, oh, super PACs, what, they all take it. Well, 60% of super PAC money comes from 132 people.
Yeah.
And so like that, right now, I believe in the House of Representatives, Justice Democrats has 10 or 12 people, 10 or 12 members. And now we've got Nina Turner, and there's all these people, even a few, I can't remember the names, but there are even some Republican candidates that are trying to run on a more populist message, which I think is how we, you know, I mean, that's basically what populism is, isn't it? Like taking our country back.
Well, what's interesting is what Luis was talking about. We had him on. He's an economist, super intelligent guy, brilliant. But he was talking about how our current preliminary elections are the biggest problem with our politics is because it creates extreme politics because it makes us elect the most extreme on both sides. So then you just have groups of extremes. You have all the extreme Democrats on one side and all the extreme Republicans on the other side, and they can never work together. Because
all of this, and that's what H.R. 1, the bill that's in the Senate right now, is really trying to solve with, like, you know, eliminating gerrymandering, solving basically
I wish we could just get rid of the parties completely. I think that would solve a lot of problems. I think then people would just run on ideas, and they can't base it on parties, so you don't have these masses of people just saying, well, I just vote for this party. Like, no, there's no parties. It's you vote for ideas.
Yeah, and that's, I think, ultimately, if there was a Republican running on policies that I agreed with and he prioritized those over some of the ones that I didn't, I'd probably vote for them.
Yeah, but if that person was just running on their ideas and no party was involved, you definitely vote for that person.
Unfortunately, we're at a place where it's like that's not even like for starting a third party. I have arguments. I have arguments with.
That's not the solution, though.
Friends of mine. Yeah. Like I have arguments with friends of mine that want to like say like we have to abandon the Democrats, we have to start a third party. But like historically, that doesn't go.
Independents are growing, though.
Independents are growing, and that's
I think
ranked choice voting.
Getting rid of parties would solve that problem.
Yeah.
And make society way better. But, you know, if we, you know, hopefully in 10 years we start to merge with technology, we become a lot smarter, and we realize we're all idiots, and we need to find a better way.
Some sort of like techno, I don't know, terms.
Yeah. So.
Anyway, everyone, Neil Hoover, Master Blaster 2024. United States.
The other countries will not fuck with him. Master Blaster. Now we need like a little visual of you like.
Sounds like a dirty cartoon.
The Master Blaster.
With this- I do have a question though.
I love a good triple entendre. There's so many ways you could take Master Blaster.
That's true.
Yeah.
Very true. What do you think of? Yang wanted to do what $1,000 a month. Like, what do you have a number in mind? And I should preface this by I'll use an age analogy, but this works with money too.
Okay.
The guy that's 50 looks at the guy that's 40 on the treadmill and wishes I could be 40 again. And the guy that's 40 sees the guy at the club that's 30 and wishes he could be 30 again. And the guy that's 30 sees the guy that's 25 and wishes he could be 25 again. And that guy sees the guy that's 18 that's loving life, right? And he wants to be 18 again, right? Everybody wants what they don't have. And I can tell you, when it comes to money, everybody says, hey, when I make X, and X is dependent on the circumstances that you were brought up in, your family unit or whomever your circle of influence, center of influence was, says that this is a lot of money, this number, this arbitrary number is a lot of money, and if you can make this, you'll live a good life.
Right.
Right? And so depending on what that is, people set this goal, and they say, hey, if I can make this arbitrary amount of money, let's call it $1,000 a week, I can live a good life. Maybe it's $5,000 a week, right? But over and over and over again, I see people hit that amount of money and realize that they're still not living a great life, right? Like they're barely getting by, and no amount of money. I've met people that were six-figure-a-year earners that spent every penny they made, and I know people that worked at McDonald's that had a good head on their shoulders that were trying, they made a lot less money, but they spent a lot less, and they still had something left over. And so this whole delayed gratification and setting money aside and trying to grow, I've met people that were with nothing that were able to outpace over a period of years people that made a lot more money. And so, like, for me, this becomes this, you're going to say, hey, $1,000 a month or $2,000 a month or whatever the number is, right? And then everybody's going to get it, and everybody's going to be like, but if we had $4,000 a month, I think it would really,
broke, yeah.
I think it would really change things. And then they're going to get $4,000 a month. They're going to be like, you know what? I think if we had $6,000 a month,
It never stops.
there's not a
But
number.
I think
There's not a.
I think it's like everything else, though. It's all of it is infinite, right? Everything is infinite. So,
Infinite growth.
yeah. So I think the solution to that problem is you have to have some type of incentive, right? But also,
I'm just saying how much
Yeah,
money.
I think
Another
'cause
thing,
that
too-
wouldn't, because like having a UBI wouldn't eliminate the market. It would just provide a floor.
No. So I know
Well-
I know some wealthy families that what they've done is when they leave money to their children, what they say is that you can have $1 of your inheritance for every dollar that you earn from somewhere else. Right. So what happens is they go out and they produce $1 million in a year. They can have $1 million from their inheritance as well.
right?
If they go out and produce $20,000, they can have $20,000 from their inheritance. And what happens is it creates
It's
these
incentive.
It's incentives, and it creates these children of wealthy people that go out to earn, and their sole objective is to be top performers so they can get access to their inheritance. Or the alternate of that is you just left all this money to your children, and they have no drive, which happens a lot too.
I think incentives are important. I know some.
So I like the
Yeah.
incentive. I
Yeah.
like work. Like, so we're going to fix the floor. I love that idea.
Yeah.
Then you let's say it's 20 hours a week. Whatever the thing is, you have to complete this, and you get your incentive, right?
Yeah.
I'm perfectly fine with something like that. I just don't know what's that number.
But then we come to the problem like we were talking about of automation.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah,
That
that's
it's going to get
So,
rid
but
of all
what's
the
the
jobs.
number then?
So an alternative to all of these jobs just going away, like that, if there was some sort of collective bargaining rights, or some some head of a company made the decision, okay, I've got like 100 employees, and now I've got some technology that will make that will like double that amount of work or whatever. So
that'll replace
could-
those 100 employees.
yeah, that'll replace those 100, or that will.
Just say it'll
Yeah.
replace them all.
Yeah. Well, so we could either replace 50 of them. So you could either fire those 50 employees, or just shorten the work week for everyone.
Here's a thought.
And have that
yeah.
those gains be more evenly spread out.
Well,
I like that idea.
Yeah.
Here's a thought though about that. In China, they're the world leaders in automation.
Yeah.
And they manufacture a lot of stuff, but with current technology, they found that it's better to have one employee per machine, per robot.
Yeah.
And they've developed these robot arms and stuff that'll work alongside of people without hurting them. But eventually that's going to be replaced. Eventually the robots will just be better at everything. So say that company replaces all 100 of those employees, and you say, well, should we not allow that? Should we make them required to at least keep 50 of those employees on, working the shorter work weeks? Or maybe we should just make that company just pay those 100 employees as employees to watch those machines. Like each machine just has to have someone watch it and take notes. It's not productive, and it's pointless. It's a useless job. Those people wouldn't even be happy. They would hate that job too. It's not the solution. I think maybe the solution is I think there are many solutions that we just don't understand yet because we haven't been presented with those solutions. But I think there will be many, many solutions that happen maybe even in a virtual world. Like you look at the NFT thing right now. So people are adding value to artwork that's maybe excessive, but it's a new technology. But it's another thing where you're saying we're just all agreeing on another social construct that it's valuable, when it's only valuable because we say it is. It's not even tangible. It's not even something you can touch. And I think we'll be able to start creating things in virtual worlds, virtual realities, and maybe that's a new path of opportunities for some of these people as they start creating things virtually, or they start doing things in a virtual world where maybe they're able to do things that are beyond their natural capability because of virtual enhancements or
and
handicaps.
We're back to Ready Player One.
Yeah.
I think it's paired with Ready Player One, though it's more evident in the book. Would living in this virtual world disincentivize us from taking care of the planet that we're living on right now?
I don't think so, because I think
It looks like they do in Ready Player One.
Yeah, Ready Player One is sort of a what's the word? A dystopian world. So I don't think I love that story.
Yeah.
But I don't believe that's how things will go, because I think the more technologically advanced we become, and the more integrated and merged with technology we become, the better our society will be. I think we'll actually be finding more solutions.
Also, that'll reduce like everyone's carbon footprint. If instead of driving to go somewhere, I can be in my brain virtually driving somewhere
and actually be here, and it would be just this real.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would, that solves a lot of problems.
Yeah.
But I think also, if people do start merging with this technology, they will gain capabilities they never would have had as just normal humans. And I think that's probably part of the solution too.
And something else I was thinking about, do you know the survival rate, the average survival rate for the business in the first 5 years?
It's very low.
Probably very low, yeah.
20% maybe? Or less?
I'm gonna
Negative 8%.
I think
none of them make
it. I'm going to pull the exact number. So
with Amazon, that's probably true. That is crazy.
Amazon's competitors.
Amazon started out as selling books.
Digital books, yeah.
Jesus. I haven't actually, I knew that, but I haven't given myself the time to actually consider
that. They didn't make a profit for years, for decades.
So this is from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, new business, right? So in the first this is for a 5-year study. The first 2 years, 20% of every business goes under. And the first 5 years, from between year 2 and year 5, 45% additional go under. So in the first 5 years, 65% of every business goes under, right? Mm-hmm. You move that out at 10 years, it moves up another 25%. So the point becomes, like for me, I think one of the things that discourages me, like with taxing businesses. Mm-hmm. So Amazon solved a lot of problems, and I know everybody I know buys stuff from Amazon. They may go physically somewhere to look at it. They what's it called, where they window shop an item, but then they order it off Amazon because Amazon is cheaper.
Yeah.
Right. It's putting everybody else out of business. It's putting small business out of business. And hey, they solved the problem. That's what happens. Just like Uber put the taxi driver out of business. That's what happens.
It's closing all these malls.
It is.
Those towns are losing the property tax.
Big time. It's got a ripple effect, right? Mm-hmm. But like being an entrepreneur, being a business owner is already difficult enough, right? Yeah. Like there's already so many things. So like let's say that I've got, and I'm not ultra rich, but let's say that I've got this pile of money. What risk am I taking? Because if I've already paid taxes on that money and I want to take that money and risk it, let's say it's $1 billion. I want to take the $1 billion, I want to start a new company, right? I have no guarantee that I'm not going to lose every penny I've got. And then if my reward is only 28% or 27%, which means I'm taking 100% of the risk, but the government is getting 72% of my reward.
Above a certain margin.
Right, yeah, but still, they're getting 72%. I take 100% of the risk. The government takes 0. 100% of the risk is on me, and I only get 28%, 27% of the reward. Why would I risk the billions?
I like that our conversation goes all the way to where we're talking about, and you're living in a digital world, and then you just can I just talk about the acorns again?
I'm glad
Yes.
he brought this up because I was going to get back to this.
No, I just because it's
I just
Well,
noticed
here's
that,
the answer to that though, and here's the answer to your thing too about the taxes. That
it makes me hoard my money is what I'm getting at.
Here-
I'm not going to risk it for 27%.
Well, wait, are you going to hoard that money and now have to pay more taxes on it?
Well, no, it's already you already paid taxes.
I already
on
paid
it.
taxes on it.
Oh, you already paid
Once you pay taxes on something, think about this. If it's 75%, in year 2, you lost everything.
But
You can't tax someone into 0.
But
Yeah, you can.
regardless of that though, if the tax was increased to 70%, it would just reduce your productivity. It would reduce.
What's going to do for?
your
I think you're going to end up with a lot of people that have money.
slower because.
Yeah, they're going to. No, I would expand in countries or other.
But
territories that don't have that.
also what you have to consider too is people like Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk or any entrepreneur. These people what they do is what they do. Like they're that type of creator, and they don't know why they do. Nobody knows why we do what we do. Yeah. Like we all just have predispositions to do certain things in society. So that person is not going to, they're not doing what they do to make money. They're not driven by the money. They're driven by the creation of a new thing. To me, for a person like that, that business is a piece of art. It's their thing that they create. It's they're just that. They're those ants in the anthill. We're all creating stuff in society. We're all contributing somehow, and that's the way they do it. And they're not going to stop. Just like an artist is not going to stop painting. They're going to keep painting as long as they have the resource to do it. But if they can't buy the paint, they're going to stop painting because they have to. And it's the same thing with people like Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk. They're just really good at those things that they do. But they're not going to just reach a level and be like, oh, okay, I've made too much, I've done too much, I'm just going to stop here. That doesn't make sense. You want to create a society where every individual in the society is encouraged to reach their full potential. And that's the solution to the problem is that we're missing people. Like the people are in poverty and their potentials will never be realized because they don't have those opportunities. They'll never have those opportunities. And even people that are maybe in the middle class, they're doing okay, but they have more potential. They'll never reach those full potentials because they don't have the incentive or the opportunity. But the worst thing you can do is de-incentivize society, de-incentivize growth. We need to incentivize all growth in society. All members of the society need to be incentivized. And I think it'll happen. But.
Yeah. But no. What you saw was patience. That was that delayed gratification. I thought about it earlier, but you guys were talking about something else, so I waited. Okay. It just turned 15 minutes past. I was like, all right, good.
I thought I was wondering what you were doing this segment. You're like,
I was like, oh no.
Like
when I yawn or make a or if I'm like fuck this guy, I'm moving over like this.
I thought you were doing like this equivalent of doing a mic drop.
Mic drop. But no, I mean, I guess what I'm getting at is, in general, I love all the ideas.
Yeah.
I don't think we should have starving people. I do, and I don't talk about it typically.
Yeah.
I'm a capitalist for sure, but like to people I care about, my friends and my family, I've become a socialist, right? But then also there's a lot of programs, a lot of things that I do that I support. There's a lot of, and that's my personal choice. But like I like being able to give back in the way that I want to give back, and I do.
Yeah.
I feel like more than what would be taxed out of me, and then I like being able to decide what it goes to, right? But that's everything from homeless people to instruments for kids to feeding children that don't have meals from Friday to Monday. I mean, just I'm open to all kinds of stuff. We did the wildcat reserves, we built habitats, so like I'm open. Like we do water, basically digging wells and doing clean water systems in other countries. So like I'm open to all that, but at the same point, I don't want it forced on me, and this is where this whole I just get really weird about taxes because like
I've noticed.
Yeah.
Well, it's trusting politicians to invest your money properly.
Which is a big part of it, is that there's this disconnect between us and the government.
Yeah, huge.
And which is where, like, I think that
listen, the tea's going back in the harbor if you raise the taxes too much, where it's going to have the same effect. Like, look at the division in the country just over what's going on. Start taxing people to death, and you're going to have the same thing times 10.
I don't think we're going to be taxing people to death. I think we're going to be setting up a tax system with the right incentive.
I hope so.
To invest. Like, are you more likely to invest to avoid a 20% tax or a 30% tax?
Right now, if I reinvest, every expense is a dollar for dollar write-off. So I would rather reinvest 100% back into my company.
Well, what he's not getting at either is just because you reinvest in your business doesn't mean that's 100% tax deductible.
It depends on what the item is.
It depends on what it is.
No, yeah.
Some things depreciate over 20, 30 years.
Yeah, like
I'm
commercial
saying
buildings are 37 and a half years.
If you increase the tax by 10%, you're going to decrease productivity for sure.
I'm saying that a higher tax doesn't, within itself, incentivize not doing anything.
A higher tax, depending on what the trigger is, does. Because we 100% make decisions.
In a Nordic country, the worst thing you can do is say, I'm going to lower taxes. Because
that's a totally different economy, though.
Well, yeah, because
and they've had some problems too recently.
I encourage you to.
They have, but I'm saying that the issue is because their money is going towards things that put the money back in their pocket, essentially. You know.
Well, it's a much smaller society. It's a much different economy, and also, they have different ways of pricing. I'm pretty sure their government is involved in a lot of their prices, like pricing as far as medicines and medical procedures and stuff like that.
Which we need to do.
Yeah. Well, maybe. I just don't. It's not. We're still juggling with the same shit we already have. We need to change. If you change the currency, you want to create a society that is all productivity. That's all incentive. Why take away from one thing to make something a little better here? Why not just add to everything? You know what I mean? Like, make the whole thing work better. If your car is not running properly and you have the ability to fix the whole car, don't just fix one problem, fix the whole thing. You know, and I think we have the ability to do that. We're not doing it.
So, and you said, well, would I make a difference based on tax? There are accountants galore, CPAs galore, attorneys, firms that their sole job, and go to any financial institution, any of them. Go to Edward Jones, Merrill Lynch, Bank of America, Bankers Life. Go to any of them.
Yeah.
Go to any insurance company that sells financial services, and they're going to talk about tax mitigation. It's ingrained every decision. And if you get a business, I promise you, the very first, when you register your business with the state, you're going to start getting mail, right? And it's all about avoidance of tax, literally, protecting your wealth, everything.
Yeah.
So when you say, oh, well, people don't make, well, you didn't say this, but it's implied that a difference of a 20% versus 30%, is it really going to change the way you run your business? I would tell you,
totally.
Yeah. There are nothing but advisors out there telling you, like, on a commercial building, if you buy it, it's 37. It's deducted. It's a phantom deduction across 37 and a half years, right? So, like, I know that. So if I took, let's say, $10 million and put into a piece of commercial real estate, the depreciation is done across 37 and a half years, right? But if I took the same $10 million and bought a jet, I get a $10 million write-off year one, right? I get 100% of the tax write-off day one. So what these businesses spend money based on what they're incentivized to spend on. Yeah. I mean, like, so I think if you disincentivize things by raising taxes, these businesses' money are going to shift based on where the tax penalty is.
So we need to incentivize the right things through taxes.
That's the kicker is, how do you do that?
Yeah.
Right. And what's the right thing?
Right.
Is the right thing to put it into a jet?
Yeah.
Right. Because then.
And really, we all agree
Who
that
do you think has the most influence on where these incentives go? That's the question.
The corporations.
The top.
Either side is going to go to the top
like
people.
0.05% that
the
actually
top
pay.
people.
The top. Yeah. 100%.
The 0.0000005.
Actually, probably
0.00004%.
Probably the people that we don't even know the names of, honestly.
Right.
Exactly. I mean, like,
that somehow own the majority of everything.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think,
like, public opinion has, like, statistically zero influence
Very
on
little,
legislation.
No. No, I mean, I think so. For me, just to be clear,
Although the internet has fixed some of that.
yeah,
It has. It's really it's changed things. But
Yeah.
I'm going by a Princeton study that looked
Yeah.
at the past 20 years
yeah, I agree with
of
that.
public
Yeah.
opinion and legislation. So really, I mean, and I know this is why I came on here, but we need to pass HR 1. And
Yeah. And I need to look
which I
into
think is a
HR 1
big-
more and see. But
Yeah, same
definitely,
here.
it is.
I don't want starving people.
Yeah.
I don't think people should be homeless, right?
Yeah.
I want program like
Mm-hmm.
I recently had a childhood friend pass away. He overdosed, right?
Mm-hmm.
He relapsed.
My condolences.
Yep, I appreciate that. He battled with it for a long time. It was his thing, right? So I think there should be more. I think there definitely should be these programs. I'm not a heartless person.
Yeah.
I just don't. I think a lot of people that are on both sides agree with the problem. They don't agree with the solution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And so what I'm saying is, as somebody that's incentivized by, I don't want to pay too much. I already pay. My two biggest expenses are taxes and employees. And I'll tell you, I've got businesses that barely break even today, that we only keep open because those people have had that job for 8, 9, 10 years.
Yeah, sometimes
And-
it's worth doing that.
And it's worth
Yeah.
it to keep them employed. If my expenses change anywhere, like literally, I mean, like some weeks we don't break even. So if my cost to operate goes up, I'm going out of business. Those businesses are closed.
Yeah.
So like I've got businesses like that's what makes me think about, like I just get a little weird about, I don't think the answer is tax people
What's
because
not the biggest problem with our society? The
A
biggest problem
10%
is,
tax increase, I go
don't
under.
think taxation is like the only answer, but I think it has a role to play.
well,
I think
sure.
so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
I think
it
so.
has it definitely has a role, but
Yeah.
in the current structure that we have, it's never. We're trying to solve a problem with something that's broken. That's completely broken. It's
Do you
it's in a downward spiral, and it's not going to change. Like
So-
inflation is going to continue.
Do you think that, so, and here's the other problem, we're talking about federal taxation or state taxation, right? So the reason people want a lot of federal tax, should North Carolina have to pay for California because California, who has the highest tax rate in the country, is in debt up their eyeballs and they need help. They need a bailout.
Well, if we change the
High
currency,
taxes didn't work. But I'm saying the high
Yeah.
taxes in California didn't work.
no,
Neither did they in New York.
there's not enough money.
They raised the tax rate. It's the highest in the country, and it didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
So they want to increase the federal tax rate so they can get a bailout. And so, like for me, is that fair to another state that's more fiscally responsible?
Well, what you're talking about, the states bailing out other states.
Yeah, I don't like that either.
In most cases, that's blue states to red states.
No, but what I'm saying is through federal taxation,
Mm-hmm.
that's how you get every state to bail out states that aren't being socially responsible. Right? Like, I mean, that's the other problem I have. Like, are we talking about raising the federal tax rate? That's fine, but each state has a right to tax, right? So we start looking at this.
Yeah.
What's going on is by raising the federal tax rate, you have every state subsidize the cost.
Well, you have
of,
the
Well,
more
the-
irresponsible
yeah.
states pulling down the responsible
that's
states.
what I'm
And
getting
the
at.
entire tax system in this country is more complicated than one conversation.
100%.
Very
No, 100%.
complicated, yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is like there's things that I just don't like, right? Like
Yeah.
I don't know that I like the government telling me taking my money and then them deciding where it goes. You know, like I don't particularly like
because
that.
because the
we have-
government is this foreign entity that
No, I
really
mean,
we
like,
don't have control.
I live in North Carolina.
Right. I mean, we have to have a government to,
we definitely have to have
help
a government.
allocate these.
It just needs to
the
be
spending.
accountable to us.
Yes, they shouldn't be able to create a bill that has, thousands of other bills inside the same bill.
Right.
And
How do you feel about sales tax? About what's it called? Not sales tax.
value added tax?
Yeah. So like, because like, for instance, like in Florida, there's no state income tax, right?
Yeah.
And they're doing perfectly fine because they've raised the taxes on other things.
Oh, I
They
like
also
that.
passed a
You're talking about
$15
like a fair
an hour
tax.
minimum wage.
I know. Yeah, and I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
In certain circumstances, the cost of living there is higher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm cool-ish with it.
Yeah.
But my point is, though, is like take that, like just tax everything.
The $15 minimum wage should be spread across the whole society.
Yeah.
If that's the case,
And what's interesting,
because your smaller businesses shouldn't carry. It's a big
Yeah.
burden on a small business.
Yeah.
It's not on a big corporation.
yeah,
But it's still not going to work well in our society the way it's structured currently. None of these are solutions. I mean, do you think they're solutions?
I think they're attempts.
It's the same thing. It's like trying to fix.
I
Something
know too many
doesn't
people
work.
that make $15 an hour that are broke, that
Yeah.
are
It's like-
that are going bankrupt.
Yeah.
Why is this motor not running?
Yeah.
And it has no pistons in it.
Yeah.
Dude, I know
It's like
people making
people can mess with it forever,
It's
but
bec-
until it has pistons, it's never
yeah.
going to run.
And it's, I mean, and we go back to like we've touched on very briefly, but at different points, but campaign finance. I really think that is the number one issue, that we fix that, or we
Number one issue with corruption in government for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But still not the. I mean, I guess it could lead to the solution.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Because like you have to, because like I said, we've all said, we are supposed to live in a democratic, a republic, which is not true.
It's not true.
In the sense that this like 0.47% of the population gives more than $200 to political campaigns, and those are the ones that have the influence. And it's expensive to have a political campaign. I think you have to raise like, at minimum, it's like $2,000 a day.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So if you don't have one super rich person, or you don't have 2,000 or like 10,000 or like 1,000 like really poor, campaign finance reform. That's what we got. HR 1, which is more about voting rights. But
I need to check that
I
out.
do too.
Definitely check it, because
sometimes I don't like these big ass bills though when they sneak things into
Right,
them either.
yeah.
It's a pretty big bill. It's the most comprehensive anti-corruption, pro-voting rights
Which would be ironic
bill
if
that
it was
we've
full of corruption.
Yeah. Well, that would actually be very ironic and funny. I'd have a huge egg on my
Would be
face.
fun,
But one thing that it does is, first of all, it eliminates dark money. It says that you have to disclose your donors. It says that presidential and vice presidential candidates have to disclose their taxes from the past 10 years. And what I think is most interesting is it sets up a 6-to-1 donation matching ratio, to where, like, for small dollar donations, if like you get a donation from someone that's under $200, then you can opt in to have the government finance yours at a 6-to-1 ratio, which raises the power of small dollar donors, which is really what should be happening. Andrew Yang's idea was to give.
I get a feeling that bill's not going to pass.
I don't know.
I think
Maybe not.
If
Not soon,
I think
maybe.
that if we abolish, or we're not going to abolish filibuster, but if we reform the filibuster and amend some things out of it, like this is such a comprehensive anti-corruption bill and pro-voting rights. Like it, eliminates gerrymandering and stuff
Explain
like
the pro-voting rights.
Allow for like mail-in ballots. And
Yeah,
stuff.
allowing for mail-in ballots.
Which
It
we should
would
have
strike
a
down-
digital voting system anyway, like you have with.
Yeah.
But I think
I'm cool with the digital voting
eliminates
system.
like
If
voter
it-
ID
like,
laws
if you
and
can
a
bank-
lot of voter suppression. It requires, I think.
See, I don't like a lot of that.
It requires, I think it's 2 consecutive weeks of early voting polling places to be open, and they have to be
I'm
open
fine
for
with
a
that.
certain amount of time.
Yeah,
I'm fine with-
And that's like you
Well, I
said, there are
think-
parts of it that you don't agree with, and
I
think
don't like
that
mail-in
that's-
voting
Why? What about it?
because I know too many people that are hustling votes. Like, I mean, I don't like it. I think with technology the way it is, there should be a way to every person. There should be some type of digital encryption in every whatever social
Well, the
security
hustling
number.
votes isn't gonna change. I
Every DNA
Yeah.
vote gets a vote. I don't like all the. There's too much
Well, I think
contested or not.
Voter fraud.
There's too
is what
much.
you're
Well, I just
talking
don't like
about?
it at all. Like,
Okay.
it's going to hit a mailbox. I got multiple people's vote. I got
Yeah.
multiple people's ballots at my house.
Yeah. Okay.
Like that's a problem.
Okay. So like.
Well, I think with
So let's
vote,
fix the.
I think
Yeah.
with voting,
Well,
a lot of that's education too.
Yeah.
And I think
And it has automatic voter registration.
I think with the app, like if we can bank online, we can vote online. There's no
Definitely.
question.
Yeah.
No, I'm
We
cool
have-
with
we-
it. I just
Yeah.
don't like the mail-in is
Well, I
antiquated. I
think-
think it leaves room for fraud.
Well,
Well, I
more mail-in voting leads to more oversight of mail-in voting too.
Well, I think that's still an archaic method. It's
Yeah.
so dumb to mail in a
Yeah,
physical
but as
thing.
opposed to the way, like it's a step forward.
But I think true security in voting is through an app, is through digital
I think
voting.
so, too.
And also, I think I don't want it to be too easy either. Like, I think part of voting is it's a
right.
civil responsibility, right? So, or it is
It's
a
a-
right.
it's a right,
It's
yeah.
a right, but it's also it's like something you take time out of your day to go do, and you put some thought into it. And I I think maybe with an app, maybe you have to take a questionnaire or something before you, or you have to go through information and read some stuff before you actually vote. So you're not just blindly voting on the app, or maybe for each thing you can read something about the candidate, or just something that makes it more involved. So you're actually a part of the process.
I do think we need more people to be tuned into like actual politics, which I think will come about when people feel like they have more of a say in politics.
Yeah.
I'd say they are now. It's more than I've ever seen in my lifetime. More people are involved with like talking about politics.
Which I think it's good. It's just happening in a horrible way.
Yeah, true.
We're just more aware of it.
Yeah, but I think that like I said with HR1, that it's so comprehensive it's basically you combine the Federal Election Campaigns Act with the with the Voting Rights Act of 1965. And so if they have to amend like half the shit out of it, this thing passing would still be a great step forward. Even if we just restrict gerrymandering, allow automatic voter registration, like just some minor parts of it, I think will be, and counteract, there's over 253 voting suppression bills across the country being passed.
I want to get rid of physical ballots altogether too. I think that's important. Get rid of physical ballots altogether.
Ow.
It's just, it makes no sense. I don't want to rely on a human being to count anything. Either way, there's always voter corruption on both sides.
Yeah.
So we just eliminate it and have no confusion and allow everybody to be involved, or everyone that wants to be involved.
Yeah.
Involved.
It's absurd that right now you have to opt in to vote.
Yeah, that's great. But also, we would know who won the election immediately, or any election. Like you just have a digital. I mean, it makes sense. Like we live in a digital society now. Why are we? Think of how many trees we're killing to make ballots. It makes no sense.
Yeah, that's true.
It's coming.
I mean, like, do you still get physical mail for bills?
Try as hard as I do to opt out of that. They keep fucking sending them to me.
Yeah, most of them, they're all digital.
I get them. I get them from my insurance all the time. I have signed into my health insurance like multiple times online to like opt out of paper billing, and then I still get it. And I'm like, someone's going to get hurt. This does not end well. But yeah, like even, I think that.
I'll check the bill out. I think a lot of so like, I can't go to Mexico tomorrow or Namibia or South Africa or Eastern Europe and vote, right? Because I'm not a citizen.
Right.
So like I have a problem with people coming here that aren't citizens and having to vote. I don't care that they come here. I'd love to make it easier for people to come here and have opportunity, etc. But I don't think if you come here illegally or just come here, period, like if you're just here, I don't think you should get a vote.
Okay. Yeah, that's not in the bill.
I know. So that's what I was going to ask. I was going to ask because I noticed.
You have to be a citizen. It's like there's a lot of misinformation that Republicans are actually planning because this did pass the House of Representatives basically along party lines. It was like almost every Democrat voted for it. Almost every Republican voted against it.
Which is typical.
Yeah, it's very typical.
Another problem.
And
which is part of the issue is with voting with the party line.
Yeah,
they very rarely don't.
And a lot of the parties are in power because they have this polarization that's part of the fact that their races aren't competitive when they get to the general.
Yep.
Which sometimes is a bit of a, like, as someone that follows politics really closely, that is a little convenient if I'm following a primary and I'm just kind of like, I want this candidate. Like, it's nice to know, like, all right, well, I don't have to worry for the rest of the year. Like, but I understand it. But it's definitely an issue.
Yeah.
It's like the Andrew Yang mayoral race. I'm like following that and I'm just like, oh man, I hope but then I'm glad he doesn't have to worry about another party because.
Right. Yeah.
In my own selfish sense.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
And see,
how's he doing in that race, by the way?
He's killing it.
Yeah.
Good.
And dude, the media is attacking him.
Oh yeah, they hate him because he's not part of the
because he
political machine.
Yeah.
Exactly. I like him. I've liked him a while.
Yeah.
So
he really disappointed me though. Recently, he wrote an op-ed about BDS that basically equated it with anti-Semitism, and that really fucking pissed me off. Not to bring up Israel, because I don't want you guys to get demonetized or anything.
You're good. What was I gonna say? Yang. Oh, do you think you should have to show a driver's license or an ID, any type of identification, to buy a firearm?
I think you probably should. Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
But you don't need to show an ID to vote for the leader of the United States?
Well, I don't think with an app you'd have to.
I'm saying, like, you need to prove who you are and citizenship, that you have the right to vote, right? Because you're only granted the right by being a citizen. You shouldn't have to prove
But
that.
not everyone has a photo ID.
Any type of identification, right? But, like, you have to be able to prove you have a right to vote. This is my problem. Like something as important as who's going to lead the country.
Mm-hmm.
Something as important as who's going to lead your community. Right, you don't have to have an. I want everybody. Like, let's solve the problem. How do we identify everybody? Right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that, but I need an ID to get into any baseball stadium or football stadium.
Yeah, there has to be a level of security.
I gotta have an ID to get to drink an alcoholic drink or to buy cigarettes.
Well, that's why I think when you have an app, you just use your fingerprint.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah.
So I just feel like
Or your,
like, well, we don't want to collect
Yeah.
IDs. Well, why don't you want to collect IDs? Like, I don't understand that.
If someone cares enough to duplicate my retina, they can have an extra vote.
Well, the problem with the photo IDs is because not everyone has a photo ID, and the people that don't have photo IDs tend to be in the lower class. So that's how Republicans get elected in those districts.
Those people possibly are also legal immigrants, right?
I think
they wouldn't have IDs.
Illegal immigrants don't have IDs, but there are also a lot of people that don't have
I'm not
IDs
sure if
that
illegal
are
immigrants
legal
can
citizens.
register.
I've never met
Can they?
anybody that didn't have an ID. Matter of fact, the homeless people I give money to and stuff, some of them have IDs. I mean, like, have you ever met somebody that didn't have an ID?
Maybe.
Not that I can think of.
So, like,
but it's also anecdotal.
We're
Yeah,
making
yeah.
this massive.
Yeah.
I know, but we're making this massive case for not everybody has an ID.
Mm-hmm.
I think by far and large, most people
Most
have
people do
have an
have
ID.
Yeah, most people
So it's
do.
not a problem.
They
It's
must
not a real
most
issue.
people that would vote would have an
This
ID
is
most.
politics
Yeah, too.
at work, right? Like both sides. I only want you to have an ID. I think you should get an ID, some type of form of identification, even if you're not a citizen. I think we should be able to have, here's a picture, here's this person, here's their name, here some type of identification. Doesn't mean you're a citizen. I think you should have something.
Yeah.
And we should give them for free. If it's required to have, they should be free. It shouldn't be $10.
Yeah.
It should just be free. But my problem is that why would we say, well, there's some people, I've never met one personally that didn't have an ID, but there are people that have them. So because of that, we're not going to require anybody to show ID. Which means I physically walk up into a voting booth and I can vote someone else's position. Just tell them.
And if it was me coming up with the idea that we shouldn't have voter ID laws, I'd say that has like a lot of merit to it.
Right.
But this isn't just me.
No,
this
I'm
is
just.
a lot of people that.
I guess what I'm saying is the other
study the
side
subject
is
and
like
stuff.
I want. Listen, have the polls open for a month, for 2 months, for 3 months. Like I'm all about. I want to get every vote. What
Yeah.
I'm saying is I want to make sure they have the right to vote.
Yeah.
Like I got to show my ID for everything else.
Yeah.
So I don't like the, hey, well, there are some, we don't even know what percentage of people that don't have an ID. I've never met a person that didn't
The
have
number
it.
probably exists somewhere, but
I'm sure,
yeah.
right?
We
But
don't know.
We don't know it, yeah. But I'm saying
Yeah.
I've never met anybody without one.
Yeah.
I just haven't. And if I mean, so it's not common. So like,
Yeah.
I think it's discussed as if it's a common problem, but if it was common, everybody, I mean, I've asked people that before, and nobody's
I think
ever.
allowing people to vote without an ID allows people to vote for other people. That's probably
This
the
is what I was
problem.
getting at. Like when I went to the polling booth, I could have easily voted for my
You
neighbor.
can say you just tell them your name and they look it up and they check you off, so they don't verify that's who you are.
I could literally go in my neighborhood. I've got elderly people that live in my neighborhood, and I could literally go and vote for them. Matter
But
of
to
fact,
me, when I go to vote and I see them flipping through a book and find my name and check it, it's just so dumb.
yeah,
Like it's
I don't like
such
that
a-
it's not secure. And even if my
antiquated
guy
system.
loses, or your guy, like I don't care about the outcome. I care about the input. I want to make sure the input is accurate. And that's where I have the problem. Like I'm all about it. Like the winner should get a trophy, and the loser needs to eat shit. Right, and then the loser's going to go back and work harder.
That was a
and
really
train.
fucked up Pee Wee soccer league you were in.
True,
by
true,
the way.
true. I got my ass kicked from
and
the
fix
diamond.
the campaign funding.
All right,
Yeah.
Team Blue wins. Team Green, here's a pile of shit.
Eat this shit.
Eat it.
Eat it. But you know you go back, you train like when you lose in a video game, you don't just quit.
Yeah.
You figure out why you lost. You identify that. You try not to die in the same manner again. Try not to lose in the same manner again. And in theory, the more times you play the game, the further you progress. Like I like that in life. I like that in sports. I like that in business. So, like, I'm fine with a consequence to losing, and there's got to be a winner and a loser, right? I just think that the consequence for the loser needs to be they still need a roof over their head. They still need to feed their family. So that is losing. So we just create a new floor for what is losing.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm 100% fine with that. I just, how do we get there? Like, I'm open to it. And I think there's a lot of people like me that are open, but I'm just not so sure.
Yeah.
And going from...
And the conversation that is dictated for us in this country, like the
I like that we're all...
Overton window, it's expanding now.
Well, the fact that we're having this conversation is important.
Well, I like that we're talking.
This conversation also wouldn't be possible even just 10 years ago.
Right.
I agree.
Because we're talking about concepts that...
Yeah.
And again, back to what we were talking about with, like, you know, over time our brains are getting modernized and we're getting smarter. Concepts like, like Schrodinger's cat and a lot of things that a lot of science fiction is based on. You go back like
the multiverse.
Like all these kinds of things. The average person had no idea what you were talking about.
Right. Yeah.
But now if you bring up, you know, the multiverse, it's like, oh, I love Rick and Morty, you know? Even
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
Many worlds theory.
Yeah. But it's
funny.
interesting.
That's funny.
We're living through something. I don't know what it's going to be called, but it's going to be called something.
I think a big part of the problem too, what we're talking about, like voting and the systems and stuff, as well. Generation to generation, we've had this like exponential rise in technology. So a lot of the generations aren't as comfortable with it as some of the newer generations.
That's
true. So you have the thing. I would love to be able to just not go anywhere, just put my
I
thumb
agree.
on a thing, bam, gone. But there's a lot of people that would disagree with me.
I agree. No, I think all these things are solvable, and I think we got to create a floor. And I think you're gonna have to get the money from somewhere. Nothing's free, so you're gonna have to tax people. But what I'm saying is there's some point at which it disincentivizes somebody, because like take somebody like me, I'm a risk reward guy.
Yeah.
Right. So if I'm gonna risk 100% of something I have for only 27% of the win, right? And the person that's getting more than me, the government literally has a better chance to win than I do. They're going to get 73%, whatever it is, right? If I win, if I succeed. But I take 100% of the loss. Why would I risk my thing? I'm not going to risk it. It's going to create, on some level, you're going to have people that are going to say, I'm not taking the chance. Like, would you partner with me if you put 100% of the money? You had to put 100% of the money up. Me and you partner. It's 100% on you, and I get 73% if you win. And if you lose, you eat shit. You do it by yourself.
That's a good point.
Meaning I don't share in your loss, right? That's the problem. Like, so from my side, I'm trying to figure out how to do what you want to do without disincentivizing
you can't
me.
With the current system.
So look at Amazon. He made $100 million, sold his company. He made $100 million before he started Amazon. He went broke with Amazon, right? He could have lost everything. Why did he do it? He had the $100 million.
Was that Bezos or was that Musk? I know Musk sold PayPal for like 100 and some million, and then
Musk, my bad.
lost it
I'm
all
sure
with
by the time this
Tesla
podcast
and
comes
SpaceX.
out, they're going to have done like the Dragon Ball Z fusion dance into each other to
I
become
love it.
the single
Yes.
richest human being.
I like it. They should become a couple, and
That would be awesome.
Yeah, they should become a couple and the wealthiest couple in the world.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
And then get a divorce, and
Yeah.
it's the trial of the millennium.
All by
Move
next
along,
Monday.
OJ.
Yes.
Like, this is if the OJ trial fucked the Casey Anthony trial, fucked that's some other trial, some third thing.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think that's the thing is, what's the answer? Nobody knows. And you can do a case study.
Yeah.
But I'm not a real big fan of the studies, because a lot of times people create studies that end up with an outcome that they wanted.
Yeah,
That's very true.
Data.
And I don't mean that to a specific party. I think both parties are guilty of doing that.
Well,
Because
we all create narratives, and I
well,
think
we
studies
want
work that way
echo
too.
chambers,
Yeah,
right?
and to go back to, there's this great book that came out by this historian Rutger Bregman about human nature, where he talks about how our super cynical view of humankind, part of it is driven by a lot of these studies, like the Milgram experiment and the Stanford prison experiment, that happened in like the 50s and 60s as sort of a kind of a, anybody can be a Nazi. Try to, like, how do we prevent the next, thing like the Holocaust? We, like, have this cynical view of human nature so that we know to be aware of it. But he points out a lot of those studies were very flawed, and a lot of like social scientists don't actually consider them to be legitimate.
Yeah.
And so if
Well, they're kind of in the vein of what they're trying to prevent, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
yeah.
sort of.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
yeah. But I think that having the cynical view of human nature that we have, and I need to like, it's not this like, oh, human beings are angels, we're all perfect. We're definitely not angels.
No.
I don't think of myself as an optimist as much as a realist, which is a blend of, optimism and cynicism. Both exist. But I think that the positive view of human nature is one that we just don't talk about enough.
Yeah, I feel like I'm very optimistic about life in general. I think it's all one life form. Like we're just different parts of this life form, and I think humans are definitely a collective consciousness or part of a collective consciousness. Maybe everything is part of that collective, but I don't think of humans as good or bad. I think most of it is just
It's more complicated than.
yeah, it's just part of life and what life does, and also I think a lot of bad in humanity is just fear.
Definitely.
It's just a fear of losing what you have, a fear of not having enough resources. It's always been that same thing, and I think maybe some of the chaos is there's less of that danger now in our society, so we're creating other problems.
I'd be curious to see a statistic on this, and this is not going to be a popular thing, but you had mentioned earlier that less than a certain percentage of the country had $400 in savings. I would love to see a study on that percentage of people and how much they spend on the lottery annually. Because I know in this state, 10 to 1, they spend, this class spends 10 to 1 on the lottery than they do what they have in savings annually. So how do you factor for free will? Like, I should be able to spend what I want with my money, right? But if I have that free will to be wasteful with my money, then is it fair of me to go back and say, well, I don't have anything, this opportunity, this is shit, I need more?
Yeah, but even if they were conservative with their money and they didn't spend it, they still would have shit. You know what I mean? Like that thing.
I think that.
At what point?
I think
though?
that statistic you can find through simply just looking up how many people play the lottery.
Oh, it's ridiculous. It's multi-billions per year, but in North Carolina it's 10 to 1. So like you're saying, hey, X percent of people don't have $400, but imagine if they had say 200, but 10 to 1 they spend on lottery, they have less than $200 in the savings, but they've spent $2,000 trying to get rich.
And they
and
think
then
that's their easiest way to get rich.
Right, but say instead take the $2,000 and spend it on self-help books and audio or podcasts or this or that. Like I guess what I'm saying is
books, which podcasts, it gets
all of them.
It's very
yeah,
much.
I read
so
I read 100 books a year for a decade. Like you
just
got
they
to start consuming information.
Maybe they just want to work an entry-level job, though,
Maybe they do.
and have a mediocre
But I'm
life,
saying
that's
taxes can't fix free will, right? Like
well,
you could give me
free
10
will if it exists.
If it exists.
If it exists.
Yeah.
But let's say that
that would have to be for like a whole other podcast.
Yeah, that's true.
Talk
That's
for
a
9
long
hours about free will.
That's true. But imagine the base is $10,000 a month, whatever the number, pick a number. And then what if I just decide every month, the first of the month when I got my $10,000 or whatever the number, that I'm just going to donate it all 100%. Or I'm going to go to the casino, I'm going to bet it on red. Or number 37 on the roulette table. Or
donating it all would be admirable of you.
yeah. Or I'm going to go
donating it to red would be
I'm going to go to the local strip club and help with the college tuition.
That reminds me, have you ever seen that Nicolas Cage movie, back to Nicolas Cage?
Yeah, let's go back.
Leaving Las Vegas?
Yes.
Holy shit. That's basically what he did. That's such a, man. I'm going to watch so many Nicolas Cage movies
That
tomorrow.
falls under the category of mental disorders.
What's hilarious, though, is it's funny you just said that.
He's got to have some sort of mental disorder.
He does. I think so,
and
too.
he donated to Andrew Yang before he was really that big. Yeah, he was like his first celebrity donor.
I'm going to have to watch 5 Nicolas Cage movies. I'm going to be honest with you. But during this conversation, I was like, and I don't watch a whole lot of TV, but you've got me on this Nicolas Cage trip again.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm going to enjoy it.
I'm going to watch that new movie he did for sure.
Yeah.
On this episode of Solving Economic Solutions.
It was fun, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. And all that lost footage, man. There's 7 hours of us talking shit and making jokes about Trump and his toupee and all kinds of stuff. You guys missed it.
Yeah.
Have a comedian on and we try to solve the world's problems. That's usually how it goes.
Yeah.
Well, now we know he's intelligent at least.
Right.
I
Yeah.
like
Thank
that.
you.
I like that.
Yeah. If anyone watching is on Tinder, let's.
How do people? So how would people follow you? What social media are you on?
You can follow me on Instagram at Jason Z Comedy. You can also follow me on Reddit at JZ Comedy. I should hold up a list of them, but yeah, Twitter and Instagram is at Jason Z Comedy. Reddit is at JZ Comedy. I'm on TikTok as well because I fucking hate life. With Jason Z Comedy, but it's got 2 Y's, and you can follow me on Facebook, or if you want, just fucking add me. I'm an open dude. Let's make friends. Let's hang out.
Awesome.
Definitely.
Well, dude, it's been a pleasure, man.
Yeah, hell yeah. Thanks for having me.
Any
on.
shows coming up or anything?
Every time I do a podcast, I don't have any show scheduled.
Okay. Well, next time.
Well, when you get one booked, we'll have you back on, and we
Right.
won't talk politics.
Yeah.
We'll talk about
comedy.
free will.
Free will.
Oh,
Yeah.
there we go. Yeah, next topic.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed the episode. If so, be sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you next week.
Later, guys.
Bye.
Bye.